go.
Okay, Vice Mayor James,
Here.
Commissioner Ambrose,
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Here. Commissioner White.
Here. All right, thank you. Let's take a look at our agenda for tonight, please. And before we get started, we need to delete items 1 and 2. In the place of item 1, we will have a presentation from our own Parks and Recreation head. So with those changes, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the agenda with the changes outlined.
Second.
Okay, it has been properly moved and second that the agenda be modified as indicated. All those in favor respond with aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carries and agenda is approved as amended. So with that, we will have our presentation from our Parks and Recreation.
We're gonna get approval minutes.
Did I miss one? Okay, hold it 1 second. I missed one thing. Let's take a look at our minutes for January 13th, please.
I move that we approve the minutes for January 13th, 2022.
I'll go ahead and second those.
All right, this has been properly moved in second that the minutes from January 13th, 2022 be approved. All those in favor respond by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, minutes are approved. All right, now we will go to our presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, City
All right.
Commission.
My goodness.
How you doing? This is the great part of our job, working in Parks and Recreation. We like to dedicate this evening to a very good friend of ours in the community, Mr. Morgan Delaqua. Right over here. Yeah, we had to kind of bribe him to get here. We kind of had to lie a little bit because he's very humble. He technically doesn't like taking any credit. And for those who don't know, this gentleman right here, he's involved with the soccer program for the city of High Springs. And I believe this is his 22nd season coaching and helping run the soccer program. It's taken quite some time. When I was here back in, I believe, 07 and 08, I think we had like 4 to 5 teams. These past several seasons, we ended up having more teams than anyone in the county, almost up to 17, I believe, which is absolutely magnificent. And it's a testament to him and, of course, the other volunteers that we work with. We're very extremely lucky. And it's people like this is why we have a thriving community in this area. And it certainly wakes us up, keeps us up during the day. Morgan, literally, we probably communicate at least 2 or 3 times a week, I would say. Easy. But there are a few things I'd just like to add to this. This was also in a newspaper article right here. And we'd like to take this time to express our gratitude to a major asset in our community, Morgan Delaqua. Coach Morgan is now coaching his 22nd season with High Springs League. If not enough, he's been coaching 3 teams. He coaches 3 teams as well, which is absolutely magnificent. He dedicates his time and patience with the kids. He's very creative out there on the soccer field. I literally live right across the street from the Civic Center field. I could hear him when I get home practicing and hearing the whistles, and of course his other coaches as well. He dedicates a lot of money as well. And he is like a second parent to so many of those kids that are out there. Literally, no kid gets left behind when it comes to Morgan Delaqua. And then that's not just in sport, that's not just in soccer, but that's in all sports. And we communicate about all the sports as well. He's out there literally till midnight, striping fields, tightening the nets, helping other coaches. He's also part of the Alachua County Task Force for Recreation. He's the chairman of the advisory board. He helps out a lot with the city of Alachua. He also does a lot for the city of Bronson. He's actually gone out to Chiefland and done so many things out there as well with the city, with other cities, helping assist with them as far as painting their fields and getting their goals. He's helped out with concessions. There's just so many things that he has done. And the money that he does spend, he puts it towards scholarships. So if we don't have kids who are able to afford, he cuts a check right then and there. He sponsors teams regularly. I mean, there's not enough that could be said about this gentleman, and we're very, very blessed to have him. And yeah, with that being said, well, actually, there's one other, and Mr. Hal Brady, he emailed something to us, and I'd just like to read this real quickly. Unfortunately, he lost his father not too long ago, and his father was a huge asset to the city of Alachua and the city of High Springs in soccer. And Morgan certainly carried on that tradition, which is absolutely amazing. And Mr. Hal Brady was very, very good friends with his father, Mickey, and this is it right here. Mickey and Morgan did a lot for the youth and recreation in High Springs and the Alachua area. Over 35 years of volunteering, especially in the sport of soccer, but not limited to soccer. Both Mickey and Morgan coached help get the fields prepared, helped with administration, and of course, concessions. When I was at this Hal Brady, when I was doing radio broadcasts for the Santa Fe Raider football games, I was proud to have entertained Mickey and all the volunteers for soccer who were lining the soccer fields every night at the Hal Brady Rec Complex. They would drink Kool-Aid and have some laughs about me and rooting for the Raiders. Mickey helped build my house with Bill D'Amico, and the house is great, and I will always remember Mickey. As a young lad, Morgan lived in the neighborhood of the rec center and helped the staff out many times. The Delaqua family, Mom, Dad, and Morgan were a great asset to all of us. And of course, prayers to him and his family from Mr. Hal Brady. And yeah, there's not enough said. And I'm very, very proud to call this gentleman a dear good friend of ours. He gets along with every person in the Parks and Recreation Department, as well as other organizations. Not a bad thing to say about this gentleman, and just we really, really appreciate that. And we would like to dedicate this award to him, which a couple of the commissioners have received in the past, and some other people throughout the years involved with Parks and Recreation. So we'd like to dedicate this to Mr. Morgan Delaqua.
Yeah, mind blown. Question the dedication, Damon's like, hey, I had a commission meeting we got to go to. I know there's a lot of hot topics tonight. Like, oh gosh, worked all day. All right, bud, anything for you, Damon? Anything for Parks and Rec? Anything for the city of High Springs? Man, oh man. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Love you. Love you all. Thank you guys.
And we say thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, moving right along, let's go to citizens' requests and comments for issues that are not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes, please. Please come to the podium if you would like to speak. Yes.
Hello, my name is Lance Werner. I was here last meeting along with my wife, and my neighbors. I wanted to come by and thank all of you for listening to our complaint. We had a very obnoxious automotive business that was operating out of a rental in our neighborhood. And I just wanted to say a special thanks to all of you, especially Mr. Gillingham, for addressing the situation. For the last 2 weeks, it's been unusually quiet, almost like back to normal. There were 2 other people who were very instrumental, and that was April Roberts and code enforcement, and especially Chief Shepard, who followed through on contacting the landlord and basically has solved our problem with the noise. It's not quite over yet, but it seems to be in the works. And I just wanted to thank all of you for listening to our complaints and taking us seriously. And that's really about all I have to say. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Vice Mayor, we'll remind folks who are on Zoom if they'd like to come in virtually to please utilize the raise your hand function and we'll allow you to speak. And seeing no hands at this time.
No hands at this time. Okay. Let's move into our next item, which is new business, please. Discuss, consider, and act on placing a mural of Mr. Tom Dieterman on the wall of the old school, part of High Springs presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Olivia Medina. I'm Vice President of the Heart of High Springs, and I'm here first off to talk about the Heart of High Springs. I wanted to take a few minutes and explain Heart of High Springs, Inc., what it is and how we came into existence. So in spring of 2018, members of the community gathered at a public meeting to be included in a decision about a possible mural painting festival event that we could hold in High Springs that will help us visually save our history for easy access to citizens and visitors alike. We had a great deal of support and excitement as a result of that public meeting. As a group of dedicated volunteers, we continued to explore how to approach the huge event and fundraising that would accompany it. The volunteers approached a couple of nonprofit organizations with the idea of fiscal sponsorship. But the project was going to be too large for them to handle, and the paperwork and funds. It became clear that organizing a nonprofit corporation was going to be necessary. The last half of 2018 and first half of 2019 were spent doing the necessary work with the state organizations to create a nonprofit corporation. And in the process, we realized that this organization could be much more to the community than just one project. It could be a vehicle for many projects and could help other small groups that did not have the ability to incorporate by acting as a fiscal sponsor. In July of 2019, we were awarded approval from the state for the Heart of High Springs Incorporated to be a nonprofit corporation. In late August 2019, we got our IRS 501c3 approval from the IRS, which meant we could start working on fundraising and moving forward with projects. We geared up and began reaching out and did another public meeting at the library. And then in early 2020, the pandemic hit and everything halted. Most of 2020 and the bulk of 2021 led to deep restrictions in public events. So we continued to meet virtually and began fundraising and talking to individuals and small organizations in the community. To date, we have raised $33,189.68 in donations in support of all our projects. We are currently actively working on the gateway signs. The Wall Dogs bring into High Springs 2023 and assist the local downtown merchant group in the art walk. I am here tonight to present another fantastic opportunity for High Springs to recognize a man who dedicated his life to the High Springs community. His daughter, Nancy, and son, Tom, are here tonight to present their approval and support on the content and material we have collected. The historical mural will be honoring Mr. Tom Pop Dieterman. What is a hometown hero? In checking Google, this is the definition. Respectably, a hometown hero is a person who keeps an eye out for others and does good deeds or does good efforts for his or her community. Tom Pop Biederman was the quintessential hometown hero. He was born in Bartow, Florida, but spent his childhood in High Springs and moved back to Bartow, Florida when he was 13 years old. Upon graduation from high school, Tom enlisted in the U.S. Navy, where he served as a sonar man, 3rd class, from 1943 to 1946. Tom spent most of his stellar service career in the Pacific Theater on the USS Fremont, a destroyer escort. After his service, Tom returned to Gainesville and earned both his Bachelor's of Science and Master's of Education from the University of Florida. He began his teaching career in High Springs, serving High Springs High School as science teacher and coaching football. This is where he got the nicknames Pop Biederman from his students. He also developed recreational programs, and he spent many summers taking the school bus to Poe and Blue Springs and to Glen Springs, where he taught many High Springs children swimming lessons and also made trips to the skating rink in Gainesville. They occasionally hiked to Poe Springs or Underwood Hill. His daughter, Nancy Gilman, shared this memory. Once when we were at Blue Springs, the weather started getting bad quickly. Dad had blown the whistles and told everyone to get out and go to the bus. Everyone was slowly proceeding to get out of the water when lightning hit a tree in the parking area and caught fire. Needless to say, there were screams and we bolted to the bus. Another memory is of a time of Poe Springs when the teenage guys appeared to be drowning past the boil. Dad said this kid was always clowning around and he waited a few seconds before saying, "But I can't take the chance on not believing in him." He swam out to help him, thank goodness, because he really was drowning. In 1956, he became principal of High Springs Elementary, which was in what now the city of High Springs Old School Community Center. During the era of integration, the middle school was housed at Douglas until Spring Hill was completed in 1971. He and Mr. Furman Welch led the High Springs schools through the era of integration, and together these two men led the most peaceful transition of all schools during integration. In 1970, he was instrumental in working with UF to transition from a junior high school system to establishing one of the first middle schools in the state of Florida. Tom oversaw the planning, development, and building of Springs Hill Middle School and became principal there in 1970. He retired from Spring Hill Middle in 1990 after a career which spanned over 40 years in education that was spent solely in the city of High Springs. Tom was a member of the High Springs Rotary Club. He received the Paul Harris Fellow, including over 30 years of perfect attendance. He was a member of Spring Hill Methodist and First United Methodist of High Springs. Tom was elected as a High Springs City Commissioner and served as mayor of High Springs from 1970 to 1971. He loved the city of High Springs and the surrounding area. Poe Springs was one of his favorite spots where he taught hundreds of kids how to swim. He had a passion for education and wanted the best for all his students and teachers. Tom and his wife of 64 years, Virginia, traveled extensively, visiting all 7 continents. He was a loving husband, father, brother, grandfather, and great-grandfather. So today we ask for permission to use the Old Community High School. The proposed site, as pictured above, will approximately be 13 by 13 square feet. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
My name is John Sturpey. To the people of High Springs and the city commissioners, thank you for letting me visit your city hall. New business. In respect to the teacher, Mr. Tom Diedman, I can't pronounce it. Diedemann, thank you. It will get much higher honors to respect and to have a bronze plaque made with a nice statement about Mr. Tom Diedemann, mounted on a pedestal at a proper location on the grounds of the old school building. Do not allow the wall dogs to paint anything on the walls of the old school building or any walls in the whole city of High Springs. It has been 3+ years hearing the annoying words, the wall dogs are coming, the wall dogs are coming. I say to you, it is a marketing ploy only to benefit the very few, just as a lie being told over and over again, until you, the city manager, and the city of High Springs commissioners give up and give in to the annoying ongoing request for the approval to paint over, cover up, and to face the old red brick buildings of historical High Springs, and I oppose it. With that, I present to you very good news. The wall dogs are not coming because the sandblasters are coming. The beauty of one's landscape design is nature left alone in its natural state. Anything other creates impact and constant maintenance. The first order of business should be to sandblast away the fluorescent snorkel face wall that is presently covered in paint. The whole wall of historical beauty, along with 2 vintage windows and a door, now gone to the splash of nothing more than the color of noise pollution. My question to you is, who was it at the time in the High Springs Historical Society? Also, who was it in the code enforcement that approved such an image that now defaces the vintage red brick with the historical snorkel face, saying it meets all historical society guidelines, saying it was painted by a wall dog member, but not as a wall dog project? Give me a break. At the same time, this person was a sitting High Springs commissioner that voted yes in favor of the fluorescent snorkel face wall dog. And the same person at the same time and still is a member of the group Heart of High Springs, Inc. Is this not a conflict of interest? What does that mean?
You're running out of time.
Am I out of time?
Yes.
What do I do with the rest of my?
You can provide it and I'll give it to the clerk.
I can give the whole thing to the clerk?
Yes.
Got something very important there about Ross.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, if I may, ahead of additional public comment or commission comment, I'd like to address a question that's been coming up about a potential voting conflict. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So I understand that there's been some concern about voting conflicts with the Heart of High Springs, and since that's the next 2 agenda items, I just wanted to go ahead and address that. We look at voting conflicts under Florida Statute 112.3143, specifically subsection 3A. I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. It says, no county, municipal, or other local public officer shall vote in an official capacity upon any measure which would inure to his or her special private gain or loss, which he or she knows would inure to the special private gain or loss of any principal by whom he or she is retained, or to the parent organization or subsidiary of a corporate principal by which he or she is retained, other than an agency defined in 112.312 sub 2, or which he or she knows would inure to the special private gain or loss of a relative or business associate of the public officer. And this subsection, what it says is that a commissioner is not able to act if it's going to enter to their private gain. So our office has called the Commission on Ethics, and we've done some extensive research, and our opinion is if it's an uncompensated officer, there is no private gain to them, and there's no conflict of interest in voting on this item. So I just ahead of the time, I wanted to address that and make sure that I cleared up any questions that anyone had.
Vice Mayor, may I speak?
Yes.
In December, we had a meeting regarding the canoe outpost in reference to, I believe it was the American company that we're looking at for the concessions at Canoe Outpost. Commissioner Ambrose gallantly recused himself because he has portable toilets in another area of that same contractor's business. He's just recused himself. I had to ask him why he did, and then he told us. So, fine. But now, when it comes to this important vote that's life-changing here in the city of High Springs, not only does he have that same ability when this event comes up in March and the event in next year, but he's also been on the board, was actually from the very beginning with Wild Dogs and the Heart of High Springs. He may not benefit personally, and it may be legal for him to do this, but it's not morally correct. Thank you.
I see a hand. Okay,
Um,
let him respond.
since this has been brought up, you know, I am not compensated. None of the board members are. It would actually be illegal as board members of a nonprofit for us to personally benefit from our association with that. And additionally, the company I own, which does portable sanitation services, is donating any services required, no payment, no discounted payment. It's donated. It's absolutely free. So there is no personal benefit to me through my business or otherwise. And in fact, part of the Florida state statute says an elected official is required to participate in votes unless they have good reason or a conflict or what could be. I don't see the appearance of how I'm going to benefit. And after consultation with the attorneys and the fact that I'm a financial contributor actually to the organization, both personally and with cash from my company, I don't see how my involvement in the community, and I would just say we would need to be careful of that kind of precedence. It's a small community. Commissioners are involved in a lot of organizations. Commissioners are on the Chamber of Commerce when permits come before here, and a member of that. If I were benefiting or even had the appearance potentially, I would say it, but I'm not. I'm working to do something I believe in for the community, and that may not be shared by everyone up here, and that's okay, because differences of opinion need to be represented up here. But it is my intention to go ahead and participate and vote tonight.
All right.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners for hearing me. My name is Tina Corbett. I'm the owner and operator and local artist at Lanza Gallery and Art Supplies in downtown High Springs. I would just like to tell you a little bit my opinion on the whole Wild Dog situation. Recently, I participated in an event in Thomasville, Georgia, where I met a fellow artist who was talking about doing a mural in a nearby town of a locomotive. When she showed me the picture on her phone, I was blown away at the quality of the artwork. She told me she was a Wild Dog. Then when she heard I was from High Springs, she was happy to tell me that she'd like to volunteer for our event. The Wild Dog murals that she has done and the type of professionalism of her art was unmatched in anything I've seen locally in our area. These are not the final subjects that I'm about to repeat to you about what we're going to put for the wall dogs, because the town will vote on the final accepted murals, hopefully next month if you're approved for our event. But travel with me for a minute anyway. Picture this and take a walk with me in your mind, starting with a mural depicting the first peoples, the indigenous Indians of our area, the first corn farmers working along and with the Santa Fe River. Move on to murals of the colorful lives of our past residents. Skeets Easterland, first female mayor. Catherine Taylor, a local African-American teacher that made a difference. And Mural Westmoreland, a teacher with a juke joint. Then you come to a mural honoring the first cowboys in America, the Cracker Cowboy and the iconic Cracker Horse that included rugged settlers of all kinds, including local Indians rounding up the wild cows. Keep walking to a mural of the adventures on our state's first highway, Old Bellamy Road, and then our amazing High Springs Women's Club and the women who started it. Move on to a wall honoring our past war veterans. Then one of our first responders, such as the first African-American police officer, Charlie Bill Rashad. And several other murals showing the contributions of different industries in our area. Jim Douglas Chevrolet, the Priest Theater, and the Peanut Mill. Lastly, we come to a mural depicting more present day with the amazing wildlife and other natural springs and world cave diving icons such as West Styles. These murals will be tastefully done with a vintage style of type and pictures, a historic style of vintage, much like the flavor of our small town. They will not be bold and strange subject matter that graces Gainesville, or the bigger-than-life murals of Miami's Wynwood walls. These murals will enhance our history, teach the world about who and what we are and where we came from, preserving memories for the flavor of our small town for years to come. Thank you.
Okay.
I actually gave copies.
All right. Do we have anyone else?
Madam Vice Mayor, we have 3 on Zoom. I will announce their names, excuse me, and bring them in. Nancy Lavin will allow to speak first.
All right.
Ms. Lavin, you're on with the commission.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you guys tonight. My intention was to be there with you, but I had a fever and I didn't want to share my germs. I am very much in favor of the mural of Mr. Diedemann. As you see, he was a remarkable person in our community. Some of the comments that were made by the first speaker are inaccurate. At this point, we're seeking on this agenda item here just to get your approval for this one particular mural to honor a really important resident of High Springs. So that's what we're here for tonight. I appreciate you listening to us, having us on your agenda. I appreciate the opportunity to have the discussion, even though I couldn't be there. Thank you so much.
We did have one other person on Zoom as well. Ms. Joanne Tremblay, I will bring her in.
Hi, yes. My name is Joanne and I live in the downtown area. And I'm excited that we are going to be demonstrating High Springs history onto the walls. I love the idea of Pop Diedemann. There was so much I'm learning about him. And I can imagine the kids, every year, the kindergarten and first grade class, they do a walk through town and they get to visit the library and the post office. And as they walk by these murals, they can also bring up parts of High Springs history. So I think it's educational for all persons of all ages. And the style of painting that we're talking about is very, it's in keeping with the historic and quality of our town to maintain it. And I think it's also important, though, that we respect the architectural integrity of the walls which we select. So we really have to be sensitive to that. I think we can meet everybody's needs, both those of you who are from this town and have deep roots to highlight the history, and also those who also value the quality of the architecture. So we can respect the integrity of the architecture and also the wealth of our history. So I'm in favor of the murals. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, Bruce, the Bruce. You ready? Okay, I would like to reconvene the meeting, all right? All right, we had a speaker that was ready to give his presentation.
Yes, I can hear you.
Very well.
We can hear you now.
Thank you for your time. Dusty Bailey is my name. This is in regard to the wall dog murals, which is definitely a separate issue than the mural that was mentioned earlier. Is that accurate information?
That's the way I understand it. The one mural for tonight was Mr. Dieterman, and the wall dogs is.
Something separate, but it's still on the agenda? Okay. So I think that there's a little bit of misunderstanding of what might be voted on or what might be accepted by the community. And whenever I say as a whole, obviously, not everybody's going to agree one way or the other.
Exactly.
Regarding art, I enjoy art. Art's beautiful. We have an opportunity to learn from art, things that we may not read in books. We see artwork on people's bodies in the form of tattoos, and we have the choice to see them or not. We have the choice to go to an art museum and enjoy art there. And there are some communities that have beautiful artwork, beautiful murals up on their walls. High Springs is a small town. And from what I understand with wall dogs, it appears that there needs to be 10 to 12 murals, large murals painted, that the citizens of High Springs have no say-so of whether or not they can view that artwork or whether they have to view that artwork. Who apparently is referred to as the goggle girl. Some people may enjoy that piece of work, but there's others who do not, some that even work right across from it, and it's almost glaring in their face. Now, if you can imagine that, and as far as what's tasteful artwork, what I would consider tasteful is probably much different than what others in this room, in this city, or even folks that are passing through. Also, a point of concern is that on the Wall Dogs website, it appears that it's a foregone conclusion that they are going to be having their art fest here in High Springs in 2023. Again, I think there's just a little bit of confusion, a lot of unanswered questions as to who this group is, how it seems that it's already decided on that they're coming to town, how is it funded, and what are the expectations for the taxpayers as well as the residents here in High Springs. Again, there seems to be a lot of unanswered questions, and those unanswered questions are a lot of this that seems to be, we won't call it under the table, but just, I mean, it reeks of the citizens not really knowing, not given the opportunity to know what's coming or what's to be expected from them. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Madam Vaismeyer, we did have someone who wanted to speak before we had the technical issues, the phone number ending in 602. Looks like they're still on if they would like to speak.
Okay.
Phone number ending in 602, you're on with the commission.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, this is Jane. Okay, great. My name is Jane Blaze. Thank you for letting me speak. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I am in favor of beautifying our town with art, whether it be sculpture or murals or memorials or even landscaping. But beauty and art are subjective. And like the former speaker mentioned, I think the wall dog painting we already have on the west side of the Florida Springs Institute, from my perspective, somewhere between horrifying and offensive. I'm sorry, no disrespect intended, but it's not what I would want to see. I sometimes purposely drive the other way. But the idea of having wall dogs blast into town, have a painting frenzy, and create murals, big ones, in 3 days' time, then leave doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What drew me to High Springs, one of our biggest assets, is an abundance of local artists with world-class talent. I very much disagree that there's any more talent to be found than what we have right here in High Springs, from local muralist, sign designer Jim Wegman, whose wonderful murals are at the Station Bakery, to renowned master of color landscape artist John Sturpey, and dozens in between. We all know dozens of talented artists, and I feel that if local businesses need or want patronage and support from locals, we have a chance here to patronize our local artists. And I think it's very hypocritical to even think for 1 minute that they are not capable of creating some beautiful art for this town. Before I go any further, I would like to point out, I very much like our red brick architecture downtown and do not like murals, the idea of murals there at all. We have a lot of older, less aesthetic buildings here and there. We could find many places to beautify, but the Great Outdoors, for instance, did all their renovations and it still looks beautiful in the red brick with awnings. That's what I like about High Springs is our quaint history downtown look. For a big bright mural, I would look for a building that wasn't the red brick and historical. We've had collaborative efforts to paint murals here before at the old Adventure Outpost. It was fun. It was a wonderful endeavor, and we have no lack of talent here in this town. Furthermore, after the murals are painted and maybe outsiders that did them are gone, who does the maintenance and stuff? If we use local artists, they live here. They've chosen to live here. They pay their taxes here. They shop here. I think it's a wonderful idea to use them. It's offensive to think that we would look elsewhere. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Okay, I think I saw one more hand in the back, did I? Okay.
Hi, my name is Janet Evans. Thank you for letting me come up and speak.
Mhm.
There were three things tonight that I've heard that I wanted to just kind of weigh in on. First, what concerned me too is that I heard both from the website and what I've heard tonight is the assumption that this is done and this is going to happen. And I believe in speaking positively, but when it's already part of the scheduling that this is going to be happening, I thought that was a little bit bold. The second thing is what I saw from the website, which was mentioned already, is that there is going to be just one person making that final decision. And I think that that's what the website said. So I think that when we're talking about such a big subject as this, the citizens really have a right to be concerned about what one person's idea of art is as opposed to another person's. The third thing I wanted to comment on is I've always felt that it's important for the members on the commission to represent the people's voice. And I too am of the opinion that there really needs to be there can't be any appearance of favoritism towards a topic or going along with a handful of people versus what might represent more the whole of the city.
All right. Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
I've only been part of this town since 2013. I love this town. I love its quaint little country charm. Oh, my name is Julio Perez. I've only been part of this town since 2013. I have the knowledge that, so I've been building restaurants in Florida for the last 30 years throughout the state. I literally built Wynwood, which she mentioned. I built about 30 restaurants there. I built Spurrier's in Celebration Point. I've watched the murals and the graffiti destroy neighborhoods. Wynwood, before it was Wynwood, was the worst neighborhood in Miami, full of crackheads and prostitutes. They changed it. Then the graffiti came, the tourists came with their money, and then the entrepreneurs now have a reason and justification to invest money because the foot traffic is there. So I'm only looking at it as a business perspective and as a local farmer. I'm just worried about the quaint little charm of this town. And from what I understand, once the buildings have been sandblasted and painted, they have lost their historical significance as far as the historical society goes. So I'm not for it or against it. I just want it that it should be done tastefully. And also, I think local artists should be used. And the cost of $10,000 to $12,000 per mural, which is what I've been seeing online, and approximately 10 to 12 murals, I think would be very overwhelming. I thank you for your time. Good evening.
Okay, anyone else?
My name's Rick Testa. Are we still on 3 or are we just kind of
We're on
blurring
3.
3 and 4 together? You know, if we moved on
We
to
started
4,
with 3.
we're on 3. Well, I'll come back when we're on 4. Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, we have 2 hands on Zoom if there's no one else in the commission chambers.
All right.
We'll bring in a Just Debbie Smith. Ms. Smith, you're on with the commission. Your 3 minutes starts now. Ms. Smith, if you can hear us, you're on with the commission.
Unmute. I had you muted. I'm so very sorry. First of all, I'd like to say I do not live in the township of High Springs, although I do drive through it almost on a daily basis, and it does affect me in a great manner. Julio, thank you very much. Jane, thank you. The choices of the few should never impact the many without informed consent, no matter who provides the resources. An officer of the Wall Dogs organization has stated, as several other of her slotted pet projects, they are privately funded. And with this, I must add a few words. Ginny Springs. And I can also add PepsiCo and Mosaic. You see, there are those who would sell their soul for a quarter, and then there's those who would sell yours for a dime. And I support art, all of it. Music, theater, multimedia. What I don't support is one's ability to negatively affect a community because it's privately funded. If we boil our society down to who's funding it, then in fact, we all will fund it. While we're here, well, my first point is the mere fact that the organizers have ignored the many talents of the local and the surrounding artists who have chose to opt for a more, how shall I say, more what's in it for me company, a more show kind of atmosphere, where Jane brought up the local talents that not only are showcased at the new diner, but at the local bakery. There are many hiding behind closed doors. It is the true and stated intent of these projects was to draw more people to High Springs. And at this point, the direct cost of Wall Dog project may not be handed down to the citizens of High Springs and those who deal with it directly. The reality is the price will be paid by every one of us indirectly. Remember, their stated and documented intent is to bring more traffic into High Springs. Who is going to pay for that already overburdened roadways, handle the additional waste, upgrade our potable water, traffic mitigation, police, fire, and who will provide upgraded parking? Several times a week, we already have traffic backed up to 441 in 2 separate areas. Several times a year, our water becomes unhealthy to consume from our taps. Vehicles already overflow their parking spots into the streets, causing burdens that we must travel through. Where are the impact statements of this additional traffic, environmental and personal? These are the costs that the average citizens will absorb. And they are the things that we should be addressing, not who's going to be judging upcoming parades. Growth is inevitable. To do it with grace and dignity is not. And it is up to us to enforce the will of the many over the benefit of the few. We've only been here a short time. And in this short time, I've got to meet a lot of really awesome people. And I think that we should really listen to
Miss, We're going to, your time is finished. Do you have a lot longer?
No, ma'am, I'm done.
You're done? All right.
I'm done.
Thank you. We have one other.
Nancy Lavin would like to speak again. Madam Vice Mayor, would you like to bring her in?
That was it?
All right, since Ms. Lavin already spoke, then we have no hands on Zoom.
That's it.
And I don't see anyone else in the commission chamber, so I think we're good for now.
Okay, very good. Thank you for all of your comments. All right, now at this point, you want us to make a decision on the Dieterman? Is that what you're after?
Yeah, and the Dieterman is the item on agenda 3, or you could bump it and go to 4 and just discuss, the Wall Dogs event.
Madam Vice Mayor.
Yes.
This is Mayor Williams. So I'm a bit confused here. So now is the Dieterman mural a part of Waldorf? Or this something separate?
I think the Waldorf's of the one that's sponsoring it.
So I see that.
That's what I'm understanding.
The mayor?
Yes. Hold on, Ross would like to address that issue.
To answer your question, the Heart of High Springs is bringing the project forward, and it would involve the Wall Dog process, which involve local artists, but a Wall Dog who's got experience in completing a project that size in 4 days and including other people. And item 3, I believe, is just whether or not the subject matter of Pop Diedman would be appropriate in that spot. Now, number 3 or number 4, I believe, will go into a lot of the other things that have been brought up that, need to be discussed. There's nothing inappropriate about the comments that have come forward and some of the questions and confusion, but it isn't the Wall Dogs, someone not from High Springs. It is a local group of which I am on the board that is suggesting that'd be a great way to honor that man and use that space.
Madam Vice Mayor?
Yes.
I do not know Mr. Dieterman. I've read a lot about him. I do not want to in any way say that he doesn't deserve the recognition that he's getting. He sounds like a wonderful person. Having said that, I don't know how the decision was made for Pop Dieterman as opposed to someone else. Again, I think we're using a small group of people who are making decisions that we are supposed to agree upon. I think the more appropriate manner would have been to have several and be outspoken about it. And that way it would have been a little bit easier to listen to. Again, it puts us in a bad position to have to face this family and say that we don't feel it's appropriate for this to go up, when I would find it heart-wrenching to say that about my father as well. So it's not right, in my opinion, that you put us in that position. Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, may I speak?
Yes, you may.
To the issue, item number 3, specifically about Pop Dieterman, I think anybody who had such an impact on his community as an educator and an administrator that they called him Pop means that, his kids loved him, his family loved him, his community loved him, and he obviously loved swimming. And I don't know if you're aware, but the middle school library at High Springs Community School used to be a pool. And I wonder if maybe an appropriate way that we could honor and respect and thank Pop and, keep his memory alive, maybe we could name the library after him because it was a pool. Or maybe, we could find something in the town that we could name after him. Or maybe we could name a room after him in the old schoolhouse where he was. Maybe we could just find some alternate way that we could honor him.
Okay.
My name is Greg Gilman, and I am not currently a High Springs resident. I spent many, many, many years here as a High Springs resident, and I'm representing the family. And I was going to sit just through everything while it was going on. And as this gentleman mentioned, they're kind of getting mixed together, which I hate to use the old term, but with mixing it all together, we don't really have a dog in the fight. We had been consulted about information mainly for my father-in-law and supplying information. And my wife spent many, many hours digging through things to try to get to Ms. Lavin, with that. As in reference to the school, the current school, Spring Hill Middle School, the gymnasium there is actually named Tom Pop Diedemann Gymnasium. That was done so right after his retirement. The idea of putting a plaque on the wall or putting something up, if you go out there now, you would have no idea who that gym is named after. The letters that were attached to it, unless it's been corrected recently, there's nothing on it there. His roots are so tied in to not only this building or what used to be this building, but the building that mural is being proposed, to. Several buildings in the county are named after former principals, former educators. So when you say, how do we honor this person or that person? I guess it's just a subjective matter, and it's a matter of gathering information and making sure that, you've dug deep enough to know that you're not honoring somebody that you shouldn't be honoring. As far as representing the family, it's been quite strange sitting, here, and we were reluctant for that reason. Because as you look on, the website, you can see a lot of negative things kind of being thrown around there. We are here just in support, obviously, of our father-in-law, our father. And if there has ever been a man in this town deserving of such an honor, it would be my father-in-law, coming from a very prejudicial, view. I look around and I see faces that I don't really know. I do know the mayor, and that's partly because I've been out of the community a little while. But Pop Diedemann deserves an honor like that. And it looked like a very tasteful thing. And I don't know if that means if you put that one up, it's going to open the door for, 9, 10, 12 more or whatever. But if you're talking about just item 3 that's on the agenda that you're going to vote on now, I would strongly encourage the commission to vote yes on that matter.
All right, do we have any other commissioner comments? Well, I'm going to say that before we move along, I hear a lot of comments, and I hear a lot of them that I've heard before I got to this meeting tonight. And in doing some of these things, you will find that a lot of your citizens feel like they're being pushed into something that nobody took the time to ask them about one way or the other. It has come up to me several times from a variety of different people. Had it been approached a totally different way, I think you would have a totally different reception as to what you're getting here tonight. But when you try and pin somebody in a corner or make them do things because that's what you want to do, it comes out a little bit different. And I think that's where we are here with this tonight. So I don't know, of course, how it's going to turn out, but I'm listening and I hear. And I'm not totally against and I'm not totally for it at this time. But there are a lot of things that needs to be considered, and it should have been done differently, my opinion.
Madam Vice Mayor, may I ask a question? Is it appropriate or even possible to table a vote on this to have more discussion on it, to see if there were other opportunities where we could honor Pop in some way in the town?
Motion to continue can be made at any time. Allowed, and the motion to continuance, Madam Mayor, does not need a second. It's called the question, so anyone can make a motion to continue a matter, and you can do it to a date certain in the future, or you can continue it indefinitely. That's what the motion can be made.
Madam Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a bit confused because we need more, I want to say, more communication on this item, even on the Waldorf item. Mr. Dieter, I know him very well. He's a very part of my life. I know Greg well. I know Nancy well. I think this something should have been discussed just a little bit more. And then put it before number 4, which is my understanding, y'all saying is still part of the Waldorf project. That's why I'm so confused, because we should have had it after this. Again, I want to honor Mr. Dieter in some type of way, but it just wasn't enough communication with this, because I'm just seeing this when I read the agenda. It kind of put us in a rough place. I mean, a rough place. And let me say this, and I love the history of High Spring. I try my hardest to preserve the history of High Spring, to share the history of High Spring. But I just think it should have been a little bit more communication on this item just before tonight. You know, it just, you put me on between a rock and a hard place. Like I said, I really do want to honor Mr. Dieter. But just, I don't know. And we haven't really discussed the Waldorf project, because I don't know the ins and outs with this project yet. Yes, some people asking about different things, but I just don't know the ins and outs about what this group is all about, what their intentions. I don't have enough information. I just don't have enough information at this time. I don't know. I'm in favor of tabling before we can discuss a little bit more, as Commissioner Watts mentioned.
Okay.
The High Springs Museum. The Diedemann family so graciously in the past have donated things of Pop's to the museum. We have them on display in the museum because it's history, to show what Pop did for this community. It's been there since the family donated it to us. It's on display to show, like I said, what Pop has done to this for this community. So Diedemann's history is there with us. You all come and visit. Thank you.
I was going to wait to number 4. We might get there before I shuffle off the earth. My name is Rick Testa, and I'm really hoping that this will bring 3 subjects together and maybe clarify for people like even our mayor that might have a little, confusion here. Number 1, I went on vacation. When I came back, Disney World was on a wall here in High Springs, and I almost crashed my car. When I saw that mural painted up there, I moved from down south, like a lot of other people that come up here to get away and see the oak trees and the moss and all that stuff. And now we have this. What the first gentleman said was, does anybody remember some kind of fluorescent, whatever. And by the way, that first guy that got up here, he's probably one of the best artists that live in the north part of Florida. He's a natural artist. He's never taken courses. His work is everywhere. I think he was a little upset from a professional or a passionate view on what's happening, but I'm not upset. The mural is stark. It's commercial. It's highly commercial. It looks commercial. It doesn't look natural, calm look. The problem with the mural is that it was the Heart of High Springs Wall Dog Consortium, this social engineering group that has been created here in High Springs. And that social engineering group, whether you like them or support them or not, that's what they're doing. They're working behind the scenes, 4, 5, or 6 people at the top of the list. I could read their names and try to embarrass them, but I'm not going to. You know who they are already. 4 or 5 people. And then there's other people in the group. Then they bring in a wonderful opportunity to make their organization look like it has viability. This person is unimpeachable, the history of the man. I admire that. I think he should get recognition other than just in the museum. So you have on number 3, which is why I was trying to wait to number 4, you have on number 3 an issue that's being brought up that is part of this social engineering issue. And they bring in a wonderful human being and use that as their leverage to get in the door. And then we're going to move to number 4. And number 4, we're going to be talking about the group that isn't even part of High Springs, that the social engineering group called Heart of High Springs decided that they were going to adopt and impose that group on the rest of us. And what the first individual was upset about initially was the same thing I was upset about. When I saw the wall dogs are coming, the wall dogs are coming. Everybody up there, everybody in this room that's been paying attention has seen that. And I asked myself, my wife, our friends, we said, what do you mean they're coming? The individual initially said he called that a lie. I don't agree with that. I think it's social engineering. Very successful up to this point, but I hope it's not successful from this point forward. Thank you.
I think we beat this one enough, I believe. Okay. Yeah, but you're going to go into item number 4 at this point, right? And you feel that's going to clarify where you are? All right. Oh.
My name is Christy Swilly. I'm a lifelong resident of High Springs. Mr. Diedemann was my principal, one of the best loved individuals who ever took care of any of us in High Springs. And I would just want to say that he deserves more than to be associated with this type of conflict back and forth. And I think we are greatly underestimating our local community and how they would choose to honor Mr. Diedemann. And that's what we should be considering. The wall dogs topics, the mural, I won't even start on my opinion of that, simply because I feel this is far more important. This man touched my life, my parents' lives. There are a lot of individuals in here who probably would not have become successful adults if it had not been for Mr. Diedemann. And he deserves so much more than how he's being discussed in this room. And I hope that we take that into consideration before you make a vote. And I wish that we could present that to the community as a whole on how we could recognize Mr. Diedemann in a much more positive light and show him and his family that he did do a good job in this community and that we can do better by him. Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to continue item number 3. I think that there's a lot going on and we should wait.
All right, we have our motion and I understand we do not need a second in this case.
Madam Vice Mayor, we did have someone on Zoom that wanted to speak. Did you want to let them in?
Oh, you do?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Jessica Caldes would speak and we'll bring her in. Jessica.
Thank you. My name is Jessica Caldes. I'm a resident of High Springs. I'm an artist. And I also run a local business and art gallery and community art space that runs classes and programming for the community, in addition to showing the work of local and regional artists. At this point, I think you guys are going to table number 3, and that's fine, but a lot of folks have obviously spoken to item number 4. There's a lot of misinformation being shared. And I hear a lot of people engaging with this topic who have not participated or engaged with the actual Heart of High Springs organization. I have been working with them, not as a part of the board, not as anything other than a person who moved to High Springs and is very interested in the history here and in supporting artists and supporting arts and culture in our community. And I learned about the Heart of High Springs and the Wall Dogs Project from an outreach meeting that the organization held 2 years ago to invite the community to be a part of this conversation, to invite them to be a part of this process. And instead of engaging and being a part of that process, I've heard people immediately jump to conclusions. I've heard people repeat misinformation and things that are not true, despite being told repeatedly that they're not true. For example, the springs on the mural of the diver on the side of the Springs Institute was commissioned by the Springs Institute, not by anybody else. So I would, being relatively new to this community, it's a little disheartening to see people so willing to not engage rather than become a part of something that could be really lovely and really beautiful, and to support art and artists in our community. And I'd like to also say that as an artist who has created murals and works in a multidisciplinary manner, that the skill set it takes to create a mural is different than it takes to paint a beautiful painting. I know we have incredible artists here. I'm one of them. I'm an artist who shows work internationally. I don't like painting murals. I do it sometimes because it's good work to do, but it's a skill set that is very difficult and very specialized. And to then do that on top of like painting a mural, but actually engaging the community in the process, which is what the Wall Dogs Project specializes in, is actually working with community and bringing in volunteers to be a part of the process, is a whole nother skill set. So to imply that anybody can do it is like saying that anybody who cooks dinner every day at home can cater a 100-person event. And that's just not accurate. So mostly being a part of the High Springs community, I just want to invite people to consider engaging rather than jumping to conclusions, to being a part of the process instead of trying to stop it and being antagonistic.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay. So we decided.
Yes. Yes.
Motion is to continue, and it requires a vote, so.
I call the question. Let's go ahead and vote for continuance.
All right. All those in favor of discontinuing item number 3?
Aye.
Respond with aye, please. Aye. All right. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, let's move to the next item. Item number 4. Discuss, consider, and act on a special event permit application for Wall Dogs launch into the High Springs to be hosted on March the 12th through March the 15th in multiple locations.
And Madam Mayor, that's till March 19th. There was a typographical error on the agenda.
Oh, okay. From March the 12th through March the 19th, as opposed to the 15th.
Oh.
It's correct on all the other documents. It's just that one location where I think it said 15. Hi there. My name is Sharon Yago, and I'm the Secretary of the Board of Directors of the Heart of High Springs. Before we get, well, he's gonna, you get my. Oh, that's the last one. Thanks, everybody. The purpose of a launch, as you probably heard earlier when Olivia was speaking, we were originally targeted to try this event, the big Mural and History Festival for 2022. COVID hit, the organization had to regroup, but we thought that we felt like we could at least raise the money to come up with something to kind of introduce the process. And perhaps maybe we should have switched these agenda items around, I'm not sure. But what I'm here to do is explain to you the bigger picture and why we're here today and what the truths are. And quite frankly, I don't think that there is any reasonable question in this room that should not be answered before you leave today. We have enough people in the room that know the answers to most of those questions. And we would actually like to tell you the truth. A lot of fantasies out there. I don't know if you know this, but Mr. Sturpey was quoted as saying that you actually budget $124,000 for the Wild Dogs project. So it's really, there's a lot of stuff out there. Next. Right, thanks. Obviously, if you look on Facebook and all these, everything that's going around, we need to talk. We need to have a public discussion, which I think everyone in this room would like, about this issue, about murals, about art in public places. Do we have a policy on art in public places in High Springs? Do we have an ordinance? Do we have any kind of direction on what is appropriate and inappropriate? I quite agree that the Springs mural is large. We're not proposing anything like that. We're not proposing anything like that style at all. That's a lie. Okay, so let's just start there. Larry Benke sent you a nice statement. I was trying to put this presentation together, and I'm like, had to stop for a minute. I'm thinking, and then all of a sudden, Larry Benke's statement to you came into my email. And for y'all, I'd like to read it. This is one of our local artists who has given more volunteer time to projects. He's hand-drawn all of those wonderful maps that you see around town for the last 30 years. He's been doing that kind of work around here. But murals add beauty to an otherwise plain wall. They bring people to town. It displays our history. It brings art outside of the walls of a gallery so that it's accessible for all, for free. That's art in public places. It celebrates our heritage and it generates publicity. It does. Yeah, we are a tourism town. We are an ecotourism town. We know how to handle tourists. We're very good at it. We are a very welcoming, warm community. That's why people want to come here. Sure, sometimes they just go through town, the gateway to the Springs, but when they do stop, they usually have a pretty nice time. What we're proposing is a dialogue, and we've created a bunch of different events and areas and different ways to engage with the community. On Saturday, the 12th, we want to launch the information and the discussion about Mr. Diedemann. We want to honor him on the 12th and discuss his life and honor his life. We have a content committee that is also gathering and has been gathering historical information, pictures, unbelievable. It's been amazing what has been coming through. This will probably be the single largest effort to collect historical documents and pictures and things of that sort that I've ever seen in the 23 years I've been here. I know we've had a few people that have been historians. Miss Forrester, produced a book years ago. She's gone now. The museum has tried to bring things together as well. But we're going to be we've been looking at over 50 different topics that, yes, we started generating them on our own. And then with Tina and the content committee, they went out into the public, into the community, and they've been pulling information on all kinds of the buildings, events, and individuals to consider honoring in this long-term plan. Also on that Saturday, we're going to launch a walking tour of the existing murals. I don't know if you realize this, but we've already identified at least 10 murals in downtown High Springs. Most people don't kind of even know they're there, it seems like. So what we're going to do is develop a walking tour with the Tourist Development Council. They have a platform, you use a cell phone, we're going to have a map, and you'll be able to walk around town and learn about our history of these murals, of these existing murals. Then, as we add, with permission of property owners and the public and the city, as we add murals, we'll add them to the tour. That's going to go on. That's just going to start on Saturday, but it's going to be indefinite. That's going to be a deliverable that's going to be going on for years to come. So that's one positive thing that you're going to get as an outcome that for the community. Sunday through Friday, we're going to move all the displays. I mean, we'll have all the displays up on the 12th when we meet to introduce all these concepts. We've been able to, we're trying to narrow it down to a reasonable, manageable amount, and we think we can do it for 25. We've got over 50 subjects. We're going to try and get it down to 25 for this first pass. But we're also going to give the community an opportunity to nominate some other ones. There's going to be like a voting process, a comment process. So Sunday through Friday, you're going to be able to go to the library and look at all of the content of all of these different wonderful subject matters. We're going to have them on placards up on easels all around the room. It'll be there every day. You don't need my permission. You don't need anyone's permission to go visit them. As long as the library is open and no one's in that room, anyone in the general public, regardless of the county you live in, will be able to go and visit these murals or these contents, the mural contents, excuse me. Then on Monday, the 14th, we're going to raise the level of conversation a little bit higher. I've been working with Gina, the assistant county manager down in Gainesville, and Alachua County Arts Council is going to co-sponsor with us a dialogue for policymakers, for plan board members, for historic preservation boards. What does public art mean? And it's not just for High Springs. We want to invite regional, Columbia County, Gilchrist County, maybe even Union County. But one thing that I did discover as I was doing the research is that our needs for the art in public places are very, very different than Gainesville. That they are much more urban art than rural art. And so we have some similarities, but I recognize that we really probably be needing to reach out to the Crescent Cities, so to speak, people that have communities like ours, not like, more than 5 streetlights. So we'll be having that conversation in partnership with the county, and we'll be inviting all of you. We'll be inviting all of the staff, planning and zoning, Parks and Rec, CRA, TDC. All of those agencies can affect art in public places. They can fund it. They can recommend all kinds of things. In fact, the Arts Council is funding, I believe, statues as we speak in county buildings. Then on Friday, we're going to have fun because the wall dogs, our wall dog leaders are going to arrive on Wednesday. We'll get prepped, we'll get started, they'll get ready to start painting, and then we'll all take a break and go over to the High Springs Brewery and get to meet a wall dog and have fun, relax. I hear there's a rumor that the brewery is actually going to have a wall dog brew available that week. And a very social, non-committal, just a relaxing environment where you can have a conversation. Then on Saturday, during Art Walk, the first Art Walk of the season, we're going to have 2 events. We're going to truly answer what the heck is a wall dog, because they're going to be in the room with you and you're going to be able to ask them all questions. And they're not our neighbors. They're people that have come in from out of town to help us for this project. But you're going to find out, you're going to get more answers even then. And if by the end of this week, we haven't come to some level of consensus, it will not be for a lack of trying. and direct intention to create a viable conversation. This is about policy. Some would say that the reason that that Springs Institute mural was allowed is because it got past the plan board. How did it get past the plan board? Was it even submitted to the plan board? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm much too busy to be tracking those kinds of things down. But the thing is it got approved and it got funded. I believe the city of High Springs put in money. I believe the Delaware County Tourist Development Council put in money. So we're the bad guys. Anyway, Saturday is the end celebration where we will, one way or another, reveal a Pops Dieterman mural. We are going to produce a Pops Dieterman mural. Whether you allow us to put it on the old school where he taught and where we have a picture of him at his desk in that building, that's up to you. But we're going to do it. Why the wall dogs? Why the heck do we want to work with these people? The one thing that most artists, unless you're an art teacher, you don't usually spend your time doing is letting other people do your art and produce your art for you. A wall dog designs the rendering, is given all of this content for the subject matter that is our job to produce. We're producing that. We hand it to a wall dog, and he or she comes up with a rendering, which comes back to us and back and forth and back and forth. Now, granted, these subject matters are going to be voted on by the community, not by the board of directors. And what happens with a wall dog is that they come in, but they're not a painter. They're a team leader. They manage all of the people who are painting a mural. They're nationally recognized. There's a small town in Illinois only that is up for now a statewide tourism award because of the quality of the event that was produced there by the wall dogs with the community. The wall dogs are, it's just like, if there's 10 murals, if we decide, if it's 5 murals, we're doing 1 mural, we have 1 wall dog. Now he's bringing up a team of 4 because you have to train at a wall dog event before you can lead a wall dog team. This is a very, that's why these guys chose the wall dogs. And the only thing they paint is historical murals. The only place they paint them is in historic small towns. If that isn't a perfect fit for this community, if there was a perfect fit, that's it. It's exactly it's exactly who we are. I mean, I've been around here 23 years. I like my small town. I raised my daughter here. And I like the fact that is their priority. The process. Here's some pictures. You can see these are actual pictures of wall dog events from around the country. I love the farm fresh from my farmers market days. Those are volunteers. That young lady right there, she's 12, 14 years old. That's the wall dog artist is empowering that young lady to paint that wall. When we did the Springs Institute mural, when that went up, what they did was they used the wall dog concept, and the whole community, a lot of people in the community came out. I was out there. I was excited. I got to, put my hand on the wall and draw some lines. It was fun. People brought out their lawn chairs, their thermoses with cups, coffee, sitting in front of the fire station. It was a blast. It was really, really a wonderful community event. And it was really somewhat spontaneous because it wasn't a wall dog event. So it wasn't organized for that to necessarily be the main focus. But the main focus of a wall dog event in reality is not the wall dog. It's the community. It's 90% community and 10% wall dog. So what's going to happen, here's the process. December, got the information, decided, finally came up with a subject, get the information to the artists in January, seek the permits. We should be getting a rendering in the next few weeks to start with that we can submit to the plan board. And then in February, you got to prepare the site. We need to know where this mural is going to go, because what if there's a crack in the wall? What if there's some repairs that need to be done? So that's what happens in February. In March, Wall Dogs arrive. The team arrives. Our volunteers are in place. And we spend a week together creating art and talking about art. Most importantly, I think this launch will be about the conversations that are had at each of these events and throughout the week. And then as you can see, on Tuesday or Wednesday, they'll do the drawing. Thursday, they start to paint. They paint Thursday, Friday, Saturday until it's done, dusk to dawn. And then we'll display it. And that's kind of a wall dog experience. It's shrunk down to one wall dog and one wall, or one mural. But it's an example of what can be. And if we say that we need 10, 20 volunteers this year, we'll need a lot more next time if we do the bigger picture. Okay. But this is like a pilot program. And I do apologize for the lack of clarity and communication by this organization. It's hard to start a nonprofit organization. I don't know if any of you have actually done it, but it's a hard work. And these guys did a great job. I wasn't on the board when the first part of this happened and the original launch. I missed all that. I was busy, traveling Florida for work. But we're making up for it now. What we hope is that we can make up for it now. We apologize that it was that black hole where people could make up their own facts. That's what happened. We left a gaping hole of information because we had none. We had to step back. We had to take a pause. Oh, how much does it cost? The cost estimates are based on national averages that the Wall Dogs can give us. And that $110,000 a mural includes in-kind services. It's not necessarily cash. Paint, lodging, meals for the volunteers. That's all in that $10,000 arbitrary number. And it's an arbitrary number because we don't have a fact yet. We still don't have our final budget for March because we're still working out the deals. And you guys are a part of that. Or maybe not. We'll see. So anyway, that's the mural process. Physical plant, here's what you do. People come in. It's very organized. And the nice thing about working with the Wall Dogs is that it's like, okay, we don't have to do that heavy organization is figuring out how do we make this work? We've never done a wall dog. You've never done a mural before. They give us that leadership. And then, I mean, when we do the big festival, each wall dog actually creates a piece of art that they bring to that town to auction off for fundraising for the community. The artists, no matter where they come from, and some come from Europe, they pay their own way. These are sign painters and artists from all over the country that take a week off every year, and they all get together and they come to one town for 5 days. That's a wall dog. Now I want to talk to you about what we're going to leave behind besides a mural. The walking tour. I want to show you that we actually do have murals in High Springs. This was a wonderful project. I believe it was created in partnership with the CRA. It's the Quilt Mural Trail. There are 5 of them. Mr. Larry Benke, who I mentioned earlier on the right, that happens to be one of his maps. And then Tina put a bunch of numbers on there and has all the merchants. I think that's from 2015. And then she added the sites for the quilt mural. We're going to add all those to our tour. And then we have these that have been around for quite a while as well, since 2015. And then we have these that are more recent. Springs, Pink Flamingo, and Otto Duncan. We have murals in High Springs we're just not paying attention to. So to tell me, it kind of makes it funny to say, oh, well, 10 murals are going to be overwhelming. Well, if you can't find the first 10, why is it a problem? Because they're obviously, plenty of walls. That's my speech. I'm here. We are here to answer every single question that you have. Every single one.
Vice Mayor? Right ahead. You're here to present a dialogue.
Yes.
But decisions have been made, right?
What kind of decisions?
You've planned an event from March 12th to the 19th. No decisions have been made.
This is a plan.
As the plan.
It's a plan.
Okay, so there's nothing set in concrete as far as between the 12th and the 19th.
Well, I mean, we have arrangements with relationships with the county that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Have we set nothing until we got through tonight? I think we all agreed that what we needed first was to come to this room before we did anything else. Don't you agree? To have that public discussion?
I thank our city manager
Absolutely.
for bringing this to the commission because this is something she could have approved herself. Right. She has the authority to be able to do that or not approve it.
Right.
But this is the only way the public is going to find out is if you bring it before a commission meeting and get the word out. You've heard people say, what are wall dogs? What are wall dogs? What are wall dogs? Nobody. And I mentioned in the strategic planning last year that we had, when I asked that it be brought up, you didn't see anything on the websites, either the Heart of High Springs or Dive into Wall Dogs Dive into High Springs. No information at all. You didn't hear anything. It was secret. No,
it wasn't secret. It was postponed. It was not a secret.
No. The last year it has not been postponed, has
it? But it hasn't been a secret. It's simply mostly been that we've just been working to formulate it's a new organization, Commissioner Jones. We're developing relationships. Mm-hmm. We've never had a conversation with the Arts Council before, ever. We've never applied for a TDC grant, but we got one.
I don't care.
Okay.
Okay. You don't know how the artwork out there was approved or who approved it, but you know who paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Taxpayer and tourist dollars.
The comment you just made now about the mural on the old school building, mm-hmm. We're going to do it.
Well, we have the opportunity. Wall dogs don't only just paint on walls; they paint on panels.
Oh, I know that.
And if you look at the Wall Dogs website, which a lot of people finally started to do, you will see those beautiful red brick buildings. And what they've done is instead of painting a building, because we do National Historic Preservation, all that, what they did was they installed a panel on the wall. Mm. No paint was used. So the bricks were left intact, mm-hmm. No violation of the, national standards. There's all kinds of options. That's what's so beautiful about, and these guys have done it. They've done it in 10 different states. They have the experience that we don't to try and bring something like this to our community.
You also said that it was 90% community and 10% wall dog.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time that most of the community has heard anything about it. I have brought it up at commission meetings, right, because I wanted people to be aware of it, but it didn't really go anywhere. So it's just been, in the water.
I feel your frustration. Believe me. Okay. No, we didn't have anything to share yet. This is the first step in our moving forward timely. Have I sent out a press release saying, oh man, Mr. Diedeman's going to be on the old school? No.
Let's please leave Mr. Diedeman out of it. I really feel.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know.
Very sensitive about that and his family. I truly do.
Absolutely.
I just want to talk about the murals because I mean no disrespect for his family at all. And I understand he did a wonderful job around here. I've heard comments about that. So I just would like to leave that part out of it.
I'm sorry.
It just, now I even lost my train of thought. Well, that's all the questions I have for you at this time. I do have statements from people who asked for them to be read into the record.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor, may I?
Yes, you may.
I looked up at the Heart of High Springs. Hi, nice to meet you, Sharon.
Nice to meet you for the first time. Thank you.
I looked at Heart of High Springs mission statement and it says, and I wrote it down so I didn't mess anything up. It supports economic growth and tourism by promoting artistic, cultural, economic, educational, historic, and revitalization activities in High Springs, Florida and surrounding areas.
Yes.
I know that art speaks to people's souls and art can lift people up. I've seen it happen with music, with theater. You take kids from every walk of life and it speaks to their soul. So I'm not artistic. I wish I were, but I believe that art can speak to people's soul in my core. And I wonder if, because it seems like we're kind of far down the track here, and I wonder if maybe we could backpedal just a little bit and maybe think about having some kind of conversation, a less formal conversation where people were invited to a meeting to talk about maybe different opportunities that the Heart of High Springs could pursue in order to meet their objective in terms of sharing art.
Absolutely.
Because if in these last couple of years, there's anybody in our communities that have been suffering, it's our kids.
Sure.
Right now with the quarantines and the masks, their souls are crying to be filled. And I wonder if perhaps the Heart of High Springs could consider doing some kind of community art programs, maybe with after school here in the schools, or with Pastor Sammy, or maybe Elder Adam Joy, where they could share their love of art and perhaps share it with children in a way that could be displayed at maybe an art walk, and then bring it to the community in that regard.
Well, I think that something like that could work. Heart of High Springs is not necessarily going to be going into service provider mode. We're looking at projects that are one-off, the gateway signs, for example. We're going to do those once, and then they're going to last 30 years. If this next year turns out to actually happen, and we do the 10 murals or whatever it is that we do, it's going to be once. We're not going to come back and say, oh, we want to do 10 more next year. Wall dogs won't come back for 10 years.
So then the Heart of High Springs couldn't serve as a conduit for employing local artists to maybe teach kids, or to maybe make murals that they could put. Somebody that I spoke to the other day said maybe we could do murals on the rails to trails to kind of tell the story of High Springs. Oh, I thought that was a really unique approach.
I totally think that's a great idea. One of the things that the way that the Heart of High Springs is actually coming together, and it's still very young, it's an infant, but it's morphing into is this umbrella type work, 501c3, can write all the grants, and so what we did, my longtime affiliation with Tina on the First Fridays and now Art Walk. I've been doing the press releases for 10 years. We've been able to work with the Art Walk program, which they have, it's not ours, but they don't have an incorporation. So when they went out to get some sponsors, we said, okay, we'll manage your fund. We'll manage that fund for you. We will pay the bills for you. And so you can, basically it's incubating, which is probably exactly what you're looking for. Incubating programs without us having to take ownership of it. That's what we can do. We can do that all day long. We can do it for, I don't think we need it for Parks and Rec necessarily, but we might, but for cultural programming. Jessica, who was on the call earlier, she's been working on a summer program. She does it, I believe, at the old school. And there are lots of things that we can do, but we're not interested in providing those kinds of, we want to be an umbrella agency that can help in a variety of ways. We don't have to be there actually giving the art classes, but we certainly can write the grants and manage the money.
I understand that.
Okay.
I just wonder if
that's the broader
there's
picture.
So many
for us.
questions about this, and there's definitely interest.
Yes.
And there's a lot of passion on both sides. And I wonder if perhaps where we are right now at the crossroads we find ourselves now, it might not be prudent to step back a little bit and have a workshop so that people in the town had some say about the direction they'd like.
That's what March 12th through 19th is going to be all about.
Well, but a workshop wouldn't require a special use permit, though. It might be something a little bit more informal, where people might be more willing to come and just have a conversation.
Sure. And I would love that. I don't know if you know the history of art in public places in High Springs, but this room used to be full of art back 4 city managers ago. We had art in public places in this building. Didn't we? Right? I mean, we've done it. You know, and art in public places is not just murals. It's statues. It's all kinds of things. And the thing is that it's free and accessible to all. So it's a win-win-win. We would love to incubate more programs. I think ultimately, we don't know each other very well, but in 2000, I was right before this same commission when they hired me to start the farmers market. So I've been here that long. And the thing is that we can, as a partnership, we can incubate things. Public-private partnerships, I've been doing this over 40 years, the best return on investment for each party. City has a partner, doesn't have to assume all the responsibility. The nonprofit can raise the money in the private sector, do some, either if it's the fiscal agency or if you're providing services, there's all kinds of places we could go. We have needed this kind of umbrella agency in this town for a really long time because we haven't had an organization that had a focus that was broad enough to really bring in not just the business community, but the education, the churches, the whole, we're looking at the whole big picture. We're not slicing off, like the chamber is business. We're not siphoning off any particular, because we really want to look at the bigger picture. Economic development is in everything we do. So if you look at things like that, I think you can do a lot. I would love to answer anybody else's question in the audience. I mean, really, I know that this is taking a lot of time.
It sure is.
As long as it's not too personal.
No, usually it's the mayor's prerogative, but we don't usually have engagement between the audience. And in fact, all the comments should be made through you.
Got it.
And that's just the way we do it for a lot of reasons. I know some people are here maybe for the first time, but we do have an agenda of items that we need to go through. This is not a workshop. I think there has been some discussion about perhaps having a workshop where you can have more of a single issue and a free flow of information and discussion. And that is absolutely appropriate for that sort of time. This is not the time to have that kind of discussion.
Okay, then that's the way we can have to look at it.
Is that all for me?
I think so. Any questions from up here anymore? That's it.
I don't have any more questions.
That's
No.
okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your patience.
All right.
Madam Vice Mayor, I don't know if it would be appropriate at this time, but it seems like stepping back to have a workshop might be appropriate, and perhaps we could table this as well. I hate to continue yet another item, but I think that might be an appropriate course of action to give folks a chance to have a say.
We can set up a workshop and deal with it.
Mayor,
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm not opposed to Commissioner Weiss's idea of toilet, but I do think if there are people here to speak on this or make comments after that presentation, we should allow the public comment before we table that.
As long as there's comments for the record, not individual questions.
Okay. Your Vice Mayor, I'd like to ask you then, if you remember, I got up before, I hate to do it again, get up and blab, but I mentioned social engineering, okay? The guy that invented social engineering, his name was Edward Bernays, and you can Google it if you're interested, and we'll go with your Google. An individual invented public relations. The young lady that just got up and spoke to us, that's her job. She's a marketing consultant. I mean, I don't know what, I was going to ask her what she calls her title, or maybe get her to give me her business card. So that's her job, is to participate in social engineering. I'm a taxpayer here. I'm just one voice. I didn't get a chance to do that on any of this stuff. Like I said, the first inkling of this whole story of Wall Dogs came up when I saw the first mural. People have said that mural, the skin diver girl, has nothing to do with Wall Dogs, but I've been told by people in the organization that it was either one of their artists or it was the motivation to to create the illusion that this could be done in High Springs, going back to the whole idea of social engineering. Plant the seed, pour water on the seed, and grow a tree. That's Edward Bernays. That's what public relations is. If you're a marketing consultant, the job is to convince all of you that something's good for us. And I'm, again, just one taxpayer. I don't think the Wall Dogs is good for us based on three things: the mural, the fact that this whole Wall Dog subject encompassed under the heart of High Springs, brought in this painting of the individual from the history of the community. So that's the second thing. And now they're talking about having a carnival of some kind of art show carnival in March. Three things out of the heart of High Springs that have to do with the Wall Dogs. So if you're on that bus with the Wall Dogs, I think you're making a big mistake in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What did she say?
I'm Tina Corbett. Thank you again for your patience. I'll try to make this fast. I'd just like to answer a couple questions I wasn't quite sure that Sharon conveyed. First, ma'am, Miss Whites, is that how you say your last name? You were saying about the children's programs. One of the people that are on part of the Heart of High Springs, I am not on the board. I am just a gallery owner who supports them. There's a lovely lady who spoke earlier, Jessica Caldas. She's part of Good News Art. She has really been instrumental in the past 2 years in having children's programs and children's art. She's worked with the mayor and has really ran a wonderful, wonderful children's program this summer. And she has plans to do so again. She's a 501c nonprofit herself, and she has big plans for bringing art to the children of High Springs. So that's one answer to your question of what's coming and what these people do. Ms. Jones, you were saying that, well, nobody's ever talked about this before and it's been hidden. There were two public meetings that people were invited to where it was introduced as Wall Dog. That's how I learned about it. One was at the chamber meeting. This was like 2 years ago. And then there was another one at the library. Now, it all got stalled, like Sharon said, because of COVID. So now that COVID is easing up and our restrictions are easing up, it's all being back to being in the planning stages. No, it's not set in stone. It's not set in stone until the permits are approved, but you have to have a plan to bring up to you so that you can see what the idea of what they want to do, what the whole little festival event wants to do in order to get the permits. So now it's being brought to you because there is a plan that they've been working on. And no, again, it's not set in stone because you have to approve it. So that's my third point. My other point is, the mural that's on the Springs Institute was created by a local artist, Doug Hancock. That was his design, and the Springs Institute, they're a private entity. That's what they came about to do. It was a private building. How it happened, I don't know. I wasn't involved, but an artist such as Doug, such as myself, can paint one subject. I paint the Springs, but I also have in my gallery a painting of a giant hot dog. Now, there are two different things, apples and oranges. Artists are multi-gifted and can paint one style for the Springs Institute, and the Wall Dogs is a whole different style. It's a smaller type mural. It's more historic. It's the font style is a specific vintage signage. If you look it up online, I gave you guys some samples so you could see the quality is different. A mural artist is a different kind of artist that is a special skill set. I am not climbing on any scaffolds. I don't want to paint murals. I'd rather paint a canvas. I'll serve them coffee and donuts when they come to town. But it's a gift, and not everybody can paint a good mural. We all know that. We see them around town. I go to Gainesville. Some of them, the artists might have been fabulous, but there's some scary murals there.
Okay.
So that's my
thank you.
point. But thank you for listening.
All right.
Lance Verner's my name. I came here for a different reason altogether, but after hearing all of this discussion about what's going on, I think this a vote about this wall dog project is totally out of the is totally uncalled for at this point. I had heard nothing about this. I've lived here 30 years, and I don't know what people were doing 2 years ago before the pandemic, but lots happened since then. This seems to me to be something that should be brought up for the entire town to discuss whether we are even interested in having murals all over our town. If you go down and look in Alachua, Alachua has a nice little main street, but you don't even know it's there because of all the industry and strip malls that are all around that town. High Springs is a beautiful place. I grew up in Orlando, came here for college, fell in love with this place because of the architecture and the bricks. And even if you put them on plaques, you're still covering up the bricks. And I just think that that should be something that the entire city and community should be advised and vote on before you guys ever have the opportunity to approve this. Sounds like you guys are being asked to make a decision on whether the wall dogs come in here on the 12th, start doing some things and showing people what their potential is. And by Wednesday, she said they were prepping the site for the mural. And then it doesn't seem like they're asking for permission. They are getting ready to paint at that point and saying, look what we can do for you. I honestly think that this is something that should be tabled and brought up to the entire community, at least advertised so that people know about it. Because I sure didn't know about any of these discussions. And I would be appalled if you guys vote to have this thing go forward without allowing everybody that pays taxes here and loves the community the way it is, have a voice, whether this should be something that we all want or not. If you want beautiful strip malls and tourism, you can go down to Gainesville, you can go down to Alachua. But High Springs is a very nice, quaint community. And I just think that would be a blemish. It doesn't matter how beautiful the art is, this is not that type of community. And I'm just one voice, but I'm sure everybody would like to have their voice heard or given the opportunity before any decisions are made. And that's all I have to say, but thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is that it?
Madam
Kevin,
Vice
do
Mayor,
you have any?
we have 4 waiting on Zoom. If you're ready to move.
Okay.
All right, we'll bring in Gerald Klum. You're on with the commission. Mr. Klum, you have 3 minutes and your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Gerald Klum. Can you hear me? My name is Gerald Klum. I'm a local artist and a muralist. I want to throw my support behind the Wall Dogs mural, although I will not be considered a wall dog at the time. I don't believe any artist at this point could because of their mentoree program. But I think having this kind of local art and historic art for the community is important for the community itself. In Ireland, they have a long tradition of these memorial murals that really speak to the community. And I think a lot of the talk of 30 years, 10 years is amazing if the community loves the mural. But if it doesn't, these things aren't sacred and they can simply be painted over. And I really support getting these things up and viewing them and seeing how we feel. And if we hate it, we can take it from there. But as a community, I think it's a great place to start. Thank you for the time.
Right, next we have a Miss Alice Brown. We'll bring Miss Brown in. Miss Brown, you have 3 minutes and your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Alice Brown, and I live inside the historical district of High Springs. And I run a business where people come to stay at my house from out of town, and we are booked every single weekend. So I know about the tourists being good for us, and I know about what they call the quote unquote tourist problem. I just don't think that painting murals of this particular style on our walls of our city has anything at all to do with whether or not we'll get more tourists. They come here for the springs, not to see paintings. Also, these paintings are very specific, as was said, they're vintage signage, font style, and this is not everybody's preference. I'm very much against it. It is secretive. I'm sorry to say so, because I look for it. I've known about it for 2.5 years. I went to the first 2 meetings that they had before COVID, and I never heard another word about it and thought, oh my gosh, we're saved. We don't have to worry about this anymore. And then boom, yesterday afternoon, my husband said, oh, they're talking about wall dogs at City Hall tomorrow night. I think that sounds secretive, and I didn't have time. I got online this morning and sent out 65 emails trying to get interest in this and people to show up tonight, because I'm scared that you guys will vote for this without the neighborhood even being able to say whether they want this style. If I want to see music, hear music, or go to a theater, I have a choice, but I won't have any choice but to look at these every day. I live downtown. I will look at these every day. Every day. And you guys, maybe you won't, except when you're going to work at City Hall. You'll see them every day. And I think it's very unfair that they're asking you to make this decision. This decision needs to be made by the community. We need time to hand out flyers and get petitions to say whether or not we really want this done to our town. This is a very serious thing. It's a very big thing. It's a very expensive thing. And it's a very long-lasting thing. And I thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
One more on Zoom. Nancy Lavin has her hand up. We'll bring her in to speak. Ms. Lavin, you have 3 minutes with the commission.
Okay, I just wanted to answer a couple of things that were said. We have reached out and asked for public input through social media and not gotten a lot of response. We haven't been able to do public meetings due to restrictions based on the governmental mandates for public gatherings. We're presenting tonight the plan that we came up with to be able to present in a public manner the idea and to do just one mural so that the community could see and hear what it's all about, okay? We're here tonight because we're asking permission for that. We haven't put it out anywhere that we're doing it until we got through this permit process. The event permit would be required for the larger event as well. So after the first initial introduction and community gathering event, the organization would have to come back and get a permit for the larger event. One thing that was said was the city would have to maintain these walls, and that's not accurate. The wall easements specifically say the Heart of High Springs will maintain the murals, okay? And the National Historic Trust states that historic buildings that are already painted are okay to put murals on because they already have had their historical thing integrity challenged. And all the buildings that are being considered are already painted. If you go around High Springs, there's a lot of painted brick walls. So that's answers to the questions that I've heard raised here. And we truly and diligently have tried to reach out to the public, but it's been really challenging because of the lack of ability to meet. And now we're at a point where we can do that. And that's what we're trying to do with this March event, is to get it out there and allow the public a lot of opportunity to come and give their input. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
No, that was Ms. Brown that didn't lower her hand. So we have no further hands at this time.
Your desire. Yes.
Well, I still have.
Go right ahead.
There's Alice Brown called in a while ago, and she was one that I was going to read, but she took care of that herself. This email is from David Gard. I have lived in High Springs and am horrified to hear about these murals planned for our city. We need roads fixed, water systems fixed, and do not need more murals. Our roads are a disgrace and our water is not drinkable, so I'm totally against more murals. Excuse me. My road is terrible and all they do is patch it. I wish I could attend Thursday, but cannot do so. I am voicing my opinion to you today. Thank you for reading this and do not hesitate to contact me. The other one is from Deborah Ferguson. I would like to offer my opinion on the wall murals that will be discussed at tomorrow's meeting. In my opinion, they are the exact opposite of a small historic town. The mural of the Scoop Girl is an eyesore and should be removed. The whole idea of placing graffiti on these old buildings is a South Florida idea. I don't believe in the murals. I don't believe the murals will draw any more visitors to our area. They are like the bike path walkway from High Springs to Newberry, absolutely useless to the residents of High Springs. We should keep our town authentic, maintain our history, and try not to make it, quote, someplace else. If the murals go up, our authenticity will be gone. Thank you. And I would like to, though I had questions for Ms. Jago, I have my own thoughts on this. I've watched the Wall Dogs since 2018. The first meeting I went to was over in the Civic Center, and they had a big screen, or they used the side of the wall to make a presentation. There were a few residents. I think there were more Wall Dog reps though than residents. It really wasn't well attended. It was after some event we had, but I don't remember what it was now. As I stated before, I brought this up at several commission meetings, but nothing was happening. And I did ask Ross about at the strategic meeting that why don't we get more information? So we still didn't get more information. My concern was that as you proceeded, you would come up $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 short and come to the city and say, you're so close to getting this. Can we count upon you to give us the money that we need to finish this? Knowing how many issues we have right at this moment, we don't have 10, 20, 30,000 to invest in wall murals. As you know, people, and if you've attended any of our meetings or listened to any of our meetings, you know people have trouble with their roads. If you've walked them, you know they have trouble. I have walked them, and it's terrible what some people are having to deal with. So the city has a lot of things on their plate right now. To me, Wall Dogs is a distraction. And you say, well, leave it to us. We're the heart of High Springs. We can do this. Then we have to look at the side of who really wants it. Is it this handful of people who want this, or is it the town of High Springs who wants it? For years, I've asked people about it. I've never had anyone say, what a wonderful idea. What are you talking about? They say, murals on all of our walls? You know, they really, and then we didn't hear anything. So everybody decided, well, it was gone. And it's not. As I said, I appreciate our city manager putting this on the agenda. Otherwise, had it been approved without coming on the agenda, nobody would have had any say on it. The residents wouldn't know about it. Several reasons why I object to Wall Dogs. We have local artists who should be considered for murals in our town. I've heard many people say they prefer the brick rather than murals. If we were to become a destination besides our springs, our infrastructure will not support the traffic you anticipate. Our traffic, it is extremely heavy now, and we have no parking, and that will not change within a year. We have residents who have moved from large cities to have a different lifestyle. That's one of the reasons why we are being so careful in choosing a developer. We have turned down two because we have because they want 40-foot lots. We don't. We know that people of High Springs don't want 40-foot lots. Ashley knows this. She knows what the commission will not approve. And when she's negotiating, she makes very sure that they know that. So we're keeping our eye open on all fronts. If you attend, oh, I've already said about the roads, murals, and in my opinion, are at the very bottom of the list. It's a major lifestyle change. We cannot take it lightly, particularly when there are just a few people who are pushing this. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Desires, please. Commissioners.
I think I've said what I had wanted to. I move that we table this discussion till later, until we could have a workshop where more people in the community could come and be a part of it. I realize that would impact the timeline for the special use permit, and that's rather time sensitive. I understand that. But I really think that we should be able to involve the community a little bit more if possible.
So we could also, as tabling it and ask them to come back without the painting involved that they're talking about. But really what they're asking for is to host a week of opportunities to have a dialogue. And I think the objection seems to be that they included the idea that during that time they'd paint one mural. So if there's a way, having had this dialogue, we postpone it and it comes back. Most ideas start with a small group of people. They don't start with a tidal wave. So there's been a lot of good exchange here tonight. It's healthy. A lot of different voices in the community have been represented, and I do appreciate that. If you're looking for a second for your motion tabling doesn't require a second, right?
Tabling does not require a second. I think the commissioner's motion was to table the matter for this evening and to direct that a workshop be held. I think that's what it was.
Yes, sir.
And therefore that would require a second.
I'll go ahead and make that second, that a workshop be scheduled in lieu of the week-long set of workshops for that, so that we can, but the thing people do need to understand, we're talking about putting art on private buildings. And I think the city attorney in a workshop could prepare a little information about what is a private owner is allowed to do on their walls. So, an engagement process is really good. But to think that the community will always have a choice on what someone who buys a building in High Springs decides to do with it, there's a certificate of appropriateness and there are rules, but there are a lot of limits on what you can say yes and no to. So it just, it's whether it happens or not, it's an opportunity that should be explored more and not just have gut reactions when it comes out. So I hope we have those opportunities.
All right, so we
Madam
have.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, go right here.
I don't think it's just a gut reaction on a lot of people's plate. And I understand you think it's just because perhaps if they removed the issue of the wall being painted, that you could go ahead and have the presentation in March that you wanted to have. That may be something we need to investigate and let you go ahead and have your week-long launch of the wall dogs. I think everybody's concern is that with this permit, if it's approved, that means it's a given that wall dogs next year will happen. And that's what their concern is. That's what it appears to be. So we can postpone it and have a workshop, but I'm not sure. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so we have decided that that's what we want to do. So we need to take a vote on this. But,
Well,
oh,
it's been moved and seconded, so.
yeah, but he said I need to do a vote.
Right.
Okay, so all those in favor of tabling this item for a workshop, respond with aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed, respond same sign. Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, let's go to the next item, which is item number 5. Discuss, consider, and act on the first addendum to the operating agreement with Anderson's Outdoor Adventures LLC to manage and operate the Santa Fe Canoe Outpost on an interim basis.
Hello again, Madam Mayor. City staff is requesting that, sorry.
Okay, I think we're ready now.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
City staff is requesting that AOA Anderson Outdoor Adventures continue to be the interim management company. We want to extend up until March, but staff is optimistic that we would finalize the contract in February. So we would just like to get the commission approval as far as that goes.
All right. Commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion to approve. Item number 5.
Second.
All right, it has been moved and second that the addendum for Anderson Outdoors be approved.
Mayor? This is just an extension. The city's still maintaining management, like they make the contract decisions and all that kind of thing, right?
Right.
Okay, that's great.
All right.
Thank you.
You got it.
Did we vote? I don't think we voted.
Any comment? Well, yeah, we didn't vote. Any comments?
Yeah,
Yeah, there has to be a vote on the first addendum.
yeah.
That allows the extension.
All those in favor of the addendum, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, respond same sign. Okay, addendum approved. All right, now we're going to hear from our city manager.
Okay, so this item was requested by Mayor Williams. I always forget that. So this item was requested by Mayor Williams. Just before he leads the conversation, I just got some things together on the lot sizes and the subdivisions in High Springs, and I thought that information would help y'all in your discussion. So can you move it? Thanks. So these are the information that Christy and I pulled are just on the homes that were permitted, not the ones that received their final CO to move in, the ones that were permitted in 2021. And we pulled the minimum and maximum lot size in those subdivisions and the minimum and maximum home size. So you could kind of get an idea of the footprint that was on the lots. And it's before you, so you can look at it during your discussion. So, and it's organized from smallest to largest. So Gibson Foster subdivision, that's in the older part of town. Those were the smallest lots and they were platted a very, very, very long time ago. Those range from 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, and the minimum lot size was 1,200 to 1,300 square feet. I won't go over each subdivision, but from Oak Ridge, Spanish Gates, Gondola Gardens, Bailey Estates, the GE Foster edition, those homes kind of all were in the same range. They ranged from around 7,500 square foot lots to 9,500 square foot lots, with the exception of Bailey that went up to 1,100 square foot lots. And Gondola, they just had like, I think maybe one or two that was in the 14,000 square foot range. And those homes ranged in size from around, Gondola had some for 1,000 square foot homes, but most of them were around 1,500 square foot to up to 3,000 square foot. Weston Oaks was kind of a little different. They had a quarter to half acre lots, and the homes ranging in size from 2,600 square feet to 3,200 square feet. And then our larger subdivisions, Cinnamon Hills, which has been around for a while, 1 to 8 acre lots, homes from 3,300 square feet to 8,000 square feet. Stonewood and Woodstone are newer subdivisions, and they range in size from 5 acres to 17 acres, and 3,500 square foot homes to 9,200 square foot homes. So we just thought that information would be valuable during the discussions, and those are not all the subdivisions in High Springs, but the ones that currently have building on them. The next thing, I just wanted to put some things for y'all to think about and consider when you're having this discussion is housing type and product. To keep in mind that cities often have a vision when creating what housing type and product they want in their community. Some cities want homes, just higher end upper scale homes. Some cities want homes that, based on their population, their needs, they want the starter home, the move up home, the empty nester home, some rental housing for people just starting out, and for transient people, as well as something for the elderly. They want something that's more of a full service community, something for everyone. Housing availability, as you know, that is an issue in High Springs. So it would be nice to have something available, more available for people to move into, because that's something we often hear at the city is an issue. The growth rate, the rate at which you want to grow the community, obviously, the more homes you allow to be platted, the faster we're going to grow. Also, the more homes that are platted, the bigger our tax base will be, but also the more we'll have to figure out how to pay for services for everyone that moves in. So, there's both sides of the coin, as well as infrastructure costs and ongoing maintenance. As subdivisions come in, obviously the developer will put in infrastructure for their subdivisions. Sometimes there'll be a benefit because it will trip projects that need to be done to connect our roads and those type of things that are offside of the development as well. Which, staff, as we enter into agreements, if there are subdivisions y'all desire, would try to figure out a way that the developer would aid in those costs and the city wouldn't have to absorb those. But, when you look at lot sizes and widths, the smaller the lot size, the less infrastructure that's required, as well as for maintenance, and the larger lots, the more. But also keep in mind, a lot of the larger lots are well and septic, which don't require, that's where the homeowner maintains and not the city. So I just want you to think of those things as you have this discussion, and I'll just turn it over to Mayor Williams.
Again, good evening. My concern is several lots in the area in this area, even in the past, most of these lots was, 75 by 100, 100 by 150. But lucky this guy took 100 by 150 lot, and he split the sizes up to stick 3 homes in those 40-foot lots. And that's not the character of that community, even in the past. Yes, they had smaller homes, but they still had them on bigger lots, which I know back in those days, it was because of the sewer system. And I know since we have the High Springs sewer system now, they have opportunity to put smaller houses, maybe chop the lots up to put smaller homes on it, which I have a big problem with those 40-foot lots. I think Commissioner Jones even made in her statement was talking about the other issue. I don't desire that type of lots in residential areas. If you get an opportunity to go look, you understand what I'm talking about in the residents of that area are concerned about. Okay, I'm finished now.
Staff, it has to, if the LDC permits a certain lot size and someone comes in and wants to split it, if it's, under a certain number, we are required to make the lot splits. Like lot splits don't come forward the way the development and design guidelines are written in the LDC. That is something that we can fix in the rewrite. But if it meets the requirements of the area, then we have to move forward. Now, that's something we could go ahead and rewrite prior to, the whole thing coming forward. We can make it high priority to bring a change to the LDC regarding that. So I just wanted y'all to be aware of that.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm in agreement with what Commissioner Jones said earlier and what Byron's brought out. I've seen this in older neighborhoods in suburbs of Chicago. And you've got these nice big lots and someone will come in and literally tear down a home that is nicely placed and fits in character of the community. And then they're going to use the existing laws to go, oh, we can divide this lot. And they build two homes where there used to be one. They reduce the distance between their neighbors. And that kind of thing can really tear apart the character of a neighborhood. And I would say that anything the city can do to preemptively do that, so we don't end up with a situation where citizens are going, how did you allow that? Would be really, really good. And as we look at our comp plan and our LDR, the idea of minimum lot sizes, I see every day what's going on outside of High Springs with some of these major developments and how close the homes are. And that's not why people move to High Springs. And so anything we can do to encourage something that's a higher standard, we're going to have growth, but I think we should make it harder for people to come in, build, leave with their profits, and then the community has to deal with a loss of the character that a lot of people moved here for to begin with. So I'm saying larger lot sizes and anything we can do to codify the dividing of lots like Byron is talking about that don't fit into the character of a neighborhood should be done. Thank you.
Staff would like direction either, privately or in this meeting. Maybe you need to go back and look at some of the data I've given you, but, we are entering into negotiations or discussing with developers as they come in and we relay to them what the commission wants. So any direction you can give us, and you don't have to do it this meeting, but the sooner the better will help us. So we're not wasting time.
I would like to speak to that if possible. I mean, you and I spoke that an acre is about 43,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So a quarter of an acre is roughly 100 by 100 foot lot. And I think that's a great jumping off point for me. I even brought 100-foot measuring tape with me so that anybody could see just how long that is. Because for me, the visual is important. And I could give somebody over there the end of it to hold so we could see. I walked my backyard this afternoon and with a cat chasing along behind it, but 100 by 100 is at least a decent size where you're not going to have homes that are narrow little homes all stacked up against each other. Because I'm in complete agreement with Commissioner Ambrose and Mayor Williams and Commissioner Jones that that's just not who High Springs is. That's not why people are moving here. Mm-hmm. And I know that the subdivisions that I drive by every day in Newberry, where they are building that way right now, those were on their books pre-2008. And I've spoken to some folks in Newberry, and that's not the direction they want to keep going either. So, I don't want us to look like the big bad uglies that don't want to build that way, but but I don't. So.
Right here.
No, I would like to ask a question. Does anybody know what's going in on the lot that was raised recently on Railroad Avenue?
I asked that question too. I don't know.
I need to look into that one.
Where at?
Railroad Avenue and what's the street? Yvonne lives down that street.
Those are homes going in there.
How many?
3, I believe.
Because they totally raised that. I mean, there
Okay,
was,
there's 6 going in there. How many lots are in there? 6? Alan, come on now.
yeah.
Come on down. There's, how many are going in there now?
Mayor Williams, Alan, I would get, I don't know if y'all know me or not. I believe there's 6 lots there. I don't know how the lot splits happen. 2 lots going towards Miss Yvonne's house and then 4 across Railroad Avenue. Is that correct?
That's right.
I'll have to look into how those were done. I'll have to look, I'll have to pull
Yeah,
them.
we can pull it up and look at
Yeah.
it and see, but I don't know how the lots got split, but there are 6 lots there.
Do you know what the rough dimensions are of the total area that's been split?
No. It would be assumption without me looking at it on Map Genius to see how much.
I know I sign off on things like that. I don't remember, I can't think of the last time a lot split came to me. So it makes me wonder if they were split before.
We've also found that the county's accepted lot splits without our sign off on it.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
that's been an issue we've been dealing with as well. But the other thing too is there's some historic plats that are still in subdivisions that have had homes on them in the past that are still there. Some of those lots are still 40s and 50s.
Yep.
So those are still considered buildable lots. So that happens. So those will get going. But there is a couple lots that Mayor Williams and I looked at. He called me on and we went and looked at it, and there were bigger lots and they got divided and it was handled through the county. So those are some issues we're exploring. We're still trying to figure out how all this happened, but none of us were aware that this even happened until after the fact.
And again, to what Mayor Williams, I think the 3 he's talking about, we've been inspecting those. I have no idea how the lot split happened. We have permitted them from the building department.
And there are 3 being built right now that are on 40-foot by, I believe, 80-foot lots. If you would like to go see them, come see me off the record. I'll tell you where they're at, just because I don't want to call it out on the record. You can go look at it and you can actually see what the impact of a 40-foot lot looks like.
Right. And they are within setbacks. We do check setbacks.
It meets all the setbacks, it meets all the fire flows. It is in current compliance. There's no nonconformities there, but honestly, until you visually see it, I don't think you get an idea of how small 40-foot is, but you're like, okay, it happens all the time. A lot of people do it. And then you actually see 3 next to each other and it's like, whoa. So no, I'm good. I mean, we can go field trip. I mean, recess for 15 if y'all want.
Now, I think the one he's speaking about Yvonne over in that area, Railroad Avenue, they're larger than 40-foot lots, I believe.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, they are. That area out there is allowed 40-foot lots. It was part of the original plat, part of that old Thrasher Boulevard, and there's some others back there that have old plats, and some down behind Mayor Williams's church also have some 40-foot lots back there and are allowable in 50s. So we have a large mix, especially from the core to, for instance, take the core, the areas we were just talking about, and then you go to like Southside. Even though it's an older subdivision, a lot of those are 100, 90s, 90 by 100, 100 by 100, 110 by 110. Those are rather large lots. And then you start riding down 174th Avenue and it gets a lot bigger. And then you have acres, 1 acre, 2 acres, half acre, things along those lines. And then you get into another neighborhood and you're back down to 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So,
yeah, and looking at the land use map, obviously, because we're going over the comp plan, it makes more sense for the larger lots to be on the south side of town, including the Bridlewood area, when you look at what's already there. Now you do have more density on the north side of town. There are areas where it's almost awkward to put lots that are too large because of what's already been developed there. And so staff was working with the consulting planners to develop a medium density category because it goes from really small to really large and there's no in between. And so our thought process was to do kind of a full service community. So you have development for if your kids want to come back and live, and then as so you can age in place and that sort of thing. And so, and I think I'd like to meet with each one of you when we get that back from the consulting planners, just so you can look at it. I can get everyone's feedback, which is one reason why we pushed this another month to do it right. And so I can bring you forward what you want. So I really think this last year has been really valuable, the discussions we've had on density, because it's really helped staff. And I'm very glad that we kind of, slowed things down a little bit to wait on some of these developments.
All right. Even though in the past, like whatever 3 houses they just built, it was just one house on that lot. So again, like I know when the sewer was there, you couldn't build. But so what makes the difference now that you can put a 40-foot lot, and years ago they had just one house on that lot?
It's basically the EPA requirements for septic tanks and what the setbacks would be at the time. So for your drain field requirements and things like that. So the sewer system allowed for density to come in where the septic tank would require certain distancing between them. So that's where that would come in. So a lot of the old historic area, if you pull the plats and you look at the maps, there's actually 2 lots combined where one house was built at one point, and then these houses get tore down, and they never actually did a deed change or a change on it being 2 lots. And when they tear the house down, they go, oh, look, we have 2 40-foot lots. They sell both lots separately, and then they start building houses that way. That's happened too. We found that in other areas as well.
I'm confused. Okay. Okay. I own a lot in that area, and my lot's 100 by 150. So you tell me I can take that lot, split up into 3 lots and put 3 houses there? Although in the past, there was just one house there?
Currently, the way it's written, yeah, you could split that lot and put a house there or 3 houses there.
But see, but when you go to the, I guess where you want that map, you go to on the city, and show my lot. It's not split up. It's showing one big lot, 150 by 100.
People are getting surveyors and replatting it, and is what they're doing.
So that's not a mechanism.
We need to fix that. We need to fix that in the LDC, in the design and development guidelines, is what we need to do, because if it allows a certain lot size in the zoning, we have to allow it.
Okay, we need to fix that.
We need to fix that soon.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Mayor Williams, just information only, and Ashley could probably talk more about it than me, but we only have approximately 75 to 100 lots that are platted left that are available, that we know of.
Yeah, I'd
Whether
have
it's
to.
Spanish Gates, Oak Ridge, Springfield, when you add them up. So we're narrowing down to where there's really not anything coming for the future.
Unless we approve something. So, yeah, it's starting to get scarce, but maybe that'll make people give us what we want if they want to be in High Springs, or they'll wait. We'll just have to kind of see what happens.
Mayor, how soon can you come back to us with some kind of fix that would prevent people from doing what Byron's talking about, taking a 100-foot lot and dividing it up at this 40-foot level?
I mean, I can do it as soon as possible. The issue is the advertising. It has to go to plan board before it comes to you. So we have to time to write it, go to plan board, and come to you because the planning commission looks at it. So I don't want to say February because, I think March is more of a realistic time frame. Also, there's already a lot scheduled for February. So we'll do it as soon as possible. So it's there's a lot of stuff that all needs to be done now.
Well, we also got to figure out that loophole of how people are going to the county and getting them split and then coming back with 3 separate lots.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that
Yeah,
myself.
got to be
They just
figured out.
got passed.
So the question there is, once we've issued a building permit, we're stuck because we've now issued a building permit. But just because the county split something in our city limits.
But see, it's coming up on the property appraiser's website when we're doing verification of lots and ownership that they're coming up split already. It's done at that point because they're the one that controls the keys to those maps.
Got it.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I cannot remember the last one I signed on, and I don't think I've signed on under 5 since I've been here. It's not
Yeah,
been very many.
We don't get them that often.
Yeah.
It's not a common.
I hope we're handling that with the county.
We're exploring the options.
But everything I've handled has been on, like, they split like a couple acres into a few more acres. I can't remember if there was something that I split that was that square foot, I would remember.
All right.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, but please look at this data, and also staff did, we did some additional research and things, and what we found, because, we did look at metro areas, in Florida and across the United States. The biggest kind of metro area, because they have subdivisions, the average that's growing closest to us is Jacksonville. There wasn't a lot of data that I could find easily accessible for Gainesville. I'd have to call the appraisal district and have them run a special report. But Jacksonville, their minimum, their average lot size now is 9,000 square feet. So that was the closest one to us. And I just thought that'd be interesting. Y'all might want to know that.
All right, so we know where we're going with this one in terms of rewrite.
Madam Mayor, when you're ready for Vice Mayor, when you're ready for public comment, we do
Yes.
have someone raising their hand on
We're
Zoom.
ready.
Okay. Now we have a Wilson Steen. Mr. Steen, you are on with the commission. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you guys very much for hearing me tonight. It sounds like we're in agreement, but I wanted to, as a lifelong resident who's lived in this town for 50 years now, I'm one who grew up here, bought my first 100 by 100 lot and built a house, sold it and bought another and built another house in this town. I wanted to just support your the notion that we need to control lot sizes. I do live in the Tillman Acres subdivision now, and I'm very familiar with the Bridalwood proposals and things that they are proposing. And I just don't think that fits with the character of our town. I think from the other discussions tonight, character of our town is critical to our community. And I just wanted to go on record to say you also have citizens supporting exactly what you guys are all saying, and that we need to have a plan in place. I realize we do need to provide lots that are available for people to come in and stay in town and have that. I was a beneficiary. I benefited from 100 by 100 lot to be able to stay in town. But I also think that we need to put restrictions similar to when we had septic tanks on how big of a house can be on that lot. Because if you build from edge to edge nearly on just a house that's too big, you end up with the same look and feel on a 100 by 100 lot as you do with these smaller lots, a house that is too big for the lot size. So I would encourage you, when you're considering your replanning, that you consider using some of the same guidelines that we had to follow when we had septic tanks only as well, to continue to maintain the character. Appreciate the time, and thank you for all your hard work.
Commissioners?
I don't.
No, we all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, you all right with what you need?
Yes, I have direction.
Okay. All right, let's move right along to item number 7. Discuss, consider, and act on amending the rules of procedure for municipal meeting, rule number 20, order of business of meeting, to add a section for commissioners' response after citizen requests and comments. Commissioner Jones.
Yes, I asked this to be put on the agenda. I noticed on the commission County Commission agenda, they have a slot after citizens' comments for commissioner comments. And there's times when we informally do that when someone is speaking at the podium. But there are times when you might want to respond to what they're saying up there, but we really don't have anything on the agenda to do. And I just wanted to see if we could add a slot that says commissioner response to what was said a while ago. Anyway, to citizens' comments. Do you understand what I said?
You mean citizens' comments for items that are not on the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have a block there that says.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, I would like to make a motion that we do so.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second that we add what we need to add. Procedures for response from commissioners under citizen comments.
Madam Vice Mayor,
Yes.
I would recommend that the motion be to direct us to bring back a resolution to amend the rules of procedure to include
okay.
that.
Okay. Motion.
So I need to make I'm sorry, say that again.
She needs the motion that they write a resolution.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. What Andrew said.
Second, what Andrea said.
Is there a second?
Yeah,
For resolution?
Yes.
All right, it's been properly moved in second that resolution be prepared to accommodate item 7. All those in favor respond with aye.
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 All right.
I got a question. So you mean talking about when citizen request is not on the agenda, am I correct?
When they
Citizens
respond to things
request.
that are not on the agenda, right?
Okay, so who will respond? Will it be the mayor, because they have to direct their questions to the mayor? Or will it be the city manager, city attorney? Who will respond? I see you said commissioners. So who will respond to that?
It would be my understanding that if someone made a comment or had a question and I wanted to respond to it, I would say, Mr. Mayor, may I respond to so-and-so's question? I mean, it would be done in the same format that we would do others as well. We do it informally now. I don't know if I mean, sometimes there are people up there talking and we kind of informally exchange conversations, not just me, but others as well. But when I saw that on the Board of County Commissioners, that there was a definite item for commissioners to respond to questions for items not on the agenda. Do you not understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand, but I always, because the attorneys always told that always they have to direct their conversation to the mayor.
Yes, that we would still use the same format that we use for anything else that we do. I mean, do we need to specify that? Do you want me to make that in the motion?
I can put that in the resolution still.
Well, Mayor?
Yes.
So there's in the rules of procedure right now, during citizen comments for items not on the agenda, it says that, commissioners can ask questions but that can get awkward.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of times when you don't really necessarily want to engage the individual, but you'd like an opportunity to comment. And the county commission meetings tend to run a little bit smoother because they avoid that random, sometimes awkward banter. And simply, when everyone's done, the commissioners are asked if they have any comments. And then the commissioner simply, at that point, you're not engaging in a conversation where there's exchange. It's just commissioners are commenting.
Right.
And then that's the end at that point,
I mean, if you wait until commissioner comments to comment on something that's said at the podium, a lot of times everybody's gone. So it just kind of gets lost in it. And there are times that we want to say, Ashley, can you look into that for Mr. So-and-so? Or, just add something to the conversation. That's what I'm talking about. It's not to have a meeting in a meeting, just to have a way of, at that time, addressing something that may be of interest.
I look at it as a more kind of professional way to do things, quite honestly. As you grow up as a city, you kind of do things like in that type of manner. It doesn't mean that we lose our kind of hometown feel or the warmth, because we don't want to lose that. But for instance, even like when you have a busy night like tonight, everyone gets to say what they want to say, and then y'all have your time. So it kind of it makes the meeting run smoother as well, I think.
So we are doing the commissioner comments at the end after everybody speaks. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That we know that we can do that.
Who speak? Somebody will speak. I didn't hear what they were saying.
That was Jenny.
Agenda item, what you could do under F where it says citizens requesting comments, you could also just put something in there that says the commission is allowed to make comments during this, or to not to talk to the citizens, but allowed to make comments.
Okay, just make it citizens' comments at the end. Got it. That'll save you some work. Good idea, Jen.
So we don't do a resolution.
We would still do a resolution to amend the rules of procedure to include that language.
Okay. Are we all in agreement here? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. All right, city attorney report and update.
Nothing for me.
City manager
I
report.
hope you're all right. Doing well.
I don't know if he hear you over there.
Mayor, I hope you're good, Mayor.
Yes, I'm hanging in there.
Attaway.
Yes, sir.
So we have legislative day coming up, as y'all all are aware. So if there are any issues that you would like us to address as we attend, I believe it's Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Whites, and the mayor that's all going. Is that correct? And so, just anything that you want us to research as staff or anything that's concerning to you, or any issue that's very important. It doesn't even have to be something that's the legislature is currently talking about, but this is a time for us to go talk to them and let them know what matters to the city of High Springs. And it's a good opportunity. So just think of those things and let us know. Also, we are hoping to plan another CRA meeting. I think we're aiming to have it the third Thursday of the month. So if y'all can check and see if that's available for y'all to attend, we really need to get another one of those going so that we move some of the CRA items forward and get some things done downtown.
Okay.
We have received additional funding from Swanee River Water Management, so we're quickly approaching $7 million from them on the sewer project. So we're plugging away on those projects. Just an update on that. We're waiting on documentation to come in, finish signing contracts, just passing proverbial paperwork back and forth. Waiting on the playground for the CBDG project that's going on over here. That's supposed to be installed on the 31st. So that project should be wrapping up here shortly. I will not be at the commission meeting on February 10th. I will be out of town. I'm taking some vacation days. So I'll be gone for a few days. AMI will start the presentations on that February 10th. The meeting I will not be at, but it's Suez. We've already heard from them once. We had 2 companies put in for RFQs. We feel they both meet both have met the requirements within the RFQ specs that we sent out and have good options. So the first company will be here on the 10th to discuss it with y'all for their qualifications. The February 24th meeting, the other company will come in. I will be here at that meeting. And then at that time, I will ask for the commission to make a determination on which company they would like us to negotiate price with. So we went out for qualifications. Qualifications have been met by both companies, we feel like. Suez seems to be a better fit. Staff really doesn't have a recommendation. The other company we really haven't talked to a whole lot. They're out of Ocala. So they've been on a few other AMI projects in the area. So we'll let them come in and do their thing, and whichever the commission feels comfortable with, we will move forward. And that's all I got.
Oh, wait. Tell them how exciting our meeting was this morning.
Oh, water and sewer master plan. So it's been a busy week. We got the rate study back from Florida Rural Water. So that was pretty much our whole day on Tuesday, working through that. Some of y'all have heard the news on some of the stuff in there. We're working on some things. And then we got our water sewer master plan back. A lot of the issues we were having in the water and sewer master plan, we've addressed through grants at this point in time. So that's cleaned up a few things there. So that whole meeting went really well. Hopefully we'll have a product, I believe, in the next 60 to 90 days to present to the commission with Florida Water, bringing it in to go over the state of our water and sewer system.
Yeah, what we learned from that is that we can use more ARPA funds.
Yes. More ARPA funds.
There's enough projects.
We also got some more information on how this will benefit us with state revolving fund and loan forgiveness and some other stuff. So there's a lot of exciting parts of that, but I don't want to give it all away. I don't want to take all their thunder when they come in the next 60, 90 days to explain all that to y'all. So that, and they're more of an expert at it than I am. I only got the 30-minute version this morning. They do this for a living. So.
Okay, so that was one of the biggest things I wanted to do when I came here last year. So I'm just really excited.
Oh, good. All right. Are there any announcements?
Farm share, February 5th. Just a reminder. And then you have the Frozen Foot coming up as well.
What?
Frozen Foot.
Oh, foot, yes.
I don't remember what day that is. What is it?
It's the weekend after. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be there passing out water.
All right. Comment from the commissioner.
Brief for the 5 brave souls there. I don't have much. I appreciate everybody's input. I think it was a productive meeting, and I really appreciate everybody coming out. And I wanted to let everybody know that here in High Springs, at the High Springs Community School, the middle school honor band was named recently, and we have here in High Springs the first chair trumpet right down the street here.
Oh,
and we should be very proud because that is a very hard thing to do. So it's pretty exciting for us here.
And her last name is White.
Oh, no, she's French Horn and she's in Newberry.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
This is somebody else.
That's right. Okay.
All right. All right, Commissioner Ambrose.
I have nothing tonight.
All right, Commissioner Jones.
I'm good. Nothing.
You're good. All right. Mayor Williams.
The only thing I have, I need Antoine and Bruce to come dig a tunnel so I can get out the house. It's not a nice feeling to be cooped up in the house, believe me.
I know. It's not.
Mayor, my wife sent me to the beach. It was a rough week, I gotta say.
My whole house been tested. Three times. My grandson tested positive once, and I don't tested positive twice. So hopefully in the morning, it'll be negative. I can get out the house. Again, I also want to say thank you for the city for your your support with the MLK Commemorous Program and Catherine and Ella talk. It was a great success. I just want to say thank you to City of High Springs. Thank you, all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I have.
And I have nothing. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, meeting adjourned.